Chapter 823. Valley of Gluttony. Thump, thump. Thump, thump. Chu Changxing's heart suddenly raced. Flows of majestic energy emitted from his heart, moving around his body in just a blink of an eye. He felt his entire body brimming with energy. His heart had fused with the Tao Ye's heart, so it had tremendous potential. If Chu Changxing could fuse with this potential, his power and cultivation base would reach a terrifying realm. At least, it wouldn't be a problem to ignite the divine flame. However, at this moment, Chu Changxing's face was so stern. His heart raced because of nervousness and fear. A terrifying pressure pressed down on him, making his heart beat faster. Chu Changxing looked in the direction of the Valley of Gluttony's entrance. Something terrible was approaching fast. The sky there had turned pitch black. It was rolling and surging. The heavenly secret saintess halted her steps. She turned to look at the black clouds in the distance, making her eyes more profound. Mo Liuji furrowed his brows. He gulped down a mouthful of wine, his eyes becoming more ruthless. They're coming with bad intentions. This kind of murderous intent, this kind of terrifying aura. This time, the Valley of Gluttony would face a great calamity. Rumble, rumble. Mo Sa's mountain-like figure was walking. Every time he took a step, the ground would tremble violently, as if it was about to shatter. Some villages around the Valley of Gluttony were trembling. Their houses couldn't bear it and were about to collapse. Mo Cha laughed. The wings on his back opened and flapped, stirring up a gust of wind that sent rocks and sand flying. His eyes were filled with excitement. Looking at the Gluttony God City, his eyes became brighter. Mwaha! I can feel the heavenly star catcher disk's aura. Mo Cha smiled. Mo Yi clasped his hands, his vertical eyes closed on his forehead. His body floated in the air, slowly moving forward. The villages around them were destroyed in just a blink of an eye. Behind them, thick black clouds rolled. The darkness attacked, as if it wanted to swallow everything. The villagers fled in all directions with fear written all over their faces. Those three looked ferocious. They didn't look like humans. They looked more like the demons in the legends. When the demons came, who wouldn't be afraid? Mo Sa grinned. His feet stomped unceasingly, shattering the ground beneath his feet. His face was filled with excitement. It's all food, food. Mo Sa's mouth was dripping with saliva as he stared at the people who were fleeing in panic. Unfortunately, the strength of these food is too low. They are not qualified to be eaten by Mo Sa. Mo Sa touched the two sharp horns on his head. The metal rings on the horns collided with each other, making a clanking sound. The creatures of the ruined prison saw the creatures of the hidden dragon continent as their food. However, they still had requirements for their food. Different kinds of existences ate different kinds of food. Existences at Mo Sa's level didn't eat the ordinary people of the continent. Instead, it was a powerful expert. They were the experts of the ruined prison. Naturally, they wanted to eat the experts of the hidden dragon continent. This was the rule, because only the flesh and blood of experts could make them feel joy and excitement. Mo Sa, Mo Cha, and Mo Yi didn't even bother to look at the villagers who were running away in panic. Their eyes gazed at the majestic Glutton God City in front of them. Inside the Glutton God City, many experts were releasing their energy, and the heavenly star catcher disk's aura was shining. That was their target. Smells so good. This city smells so good. The entire Glutton God City was cooking. Of course, the aroma was thick. Mo Sa smelled the aroma, and his face slightly shivered. The aroma of the food stimulated his taste buds, making him salivate uncontrollably. The guards on the Glutton God City were frightened, looking at the three demons approaching. Their hands, which were holding the long spears and bows, were shaking. Those three demons were too terrifying. They were like demons that had crawled out of the abyss. They had brought them endless fear. Some of the guards couldn't even stand straight and fell to the ground on their butts. They were shivering and their eyes were filled with fear. However, as guards, they had to stay on the front line of the city. Mo Sa stepped forward, laughing evilly. He opened his mouth wide, his saliva splashing. He raised his fist, and punched the glutton god city. This fist, which was like a small mountain, directly smashed into the city wall. Buzzing sounds echoed. The glutton god city's formation shrouded, protecting the entire glutton god city. However, under Sa's punch, the formation squeaked as it couldn't bear the heavy burden. Shortly after, it cracked and shattered. The fear in the guards' eyes became thicker. No one had thought that the glutton god city's formation could be so fragile. Sa swung his fist again. This punch made the air crack, unable to bear the heavy burden. The sturdy city wall was blasted apart by this punch, and rubble flew everywhere. Some guards wanted to resist, but their psychological defense was broken. They slumped on the ground. The aura on Sa's body made them lose their courage to resist. This demon was too terrifying. Swoosh! Swoosh! Sa roared. His palms swept out, and the guards were immediately smashed into minced meat. Their bodies exploded. The terrifying Sa could crush everything. The residents of the glutton god city were running away crazily. They ran toward the glutton god's building square, where the defense formation was. The new Valley Master of the Valley of Gluttony was there. Staying by the Valley Master's side, the residents could feel safe. I remember now. This city is a famous food city in the Hidden Dragon Continent. The best chefs of the Hidden Dragon Continent are gathered here. No wonder why the air is filled with the intoxicating aroma of food. Cha's wings flapped. He took a deep breath, feeling refreshed. A moment later, the three of them entered the city. The scene of the city's residents fleeing in panic fell into their eyes, and it only made them sneer for a while. They didn't even bother to attack those weaklings. He was floating in the front. He clasped his hands, looking extremely aloof. All of a sudden, his eyes gazed at the three people standing on the long street like lightning. One was a silver-haired young man. The other was a young man drinking wine with his chest exposed. And the last one was a woman wearing a veil. Her aura was ethereal, and she looked like a banished immortal. Those three didn't run away. Facing their terrifying pressure and aura, they didn't run away. That woman's aura is so familiar. Cha flapped the black wings on his back. He cocked his head, squinting at the heavenly secret saintess. Then his eyes widened, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Yeah, it's you. The heavenly star catcher disc is with that woman. As soon as he finished speaking, Ye's eyes became sharp. The air around him became stagnant. That terrifying aura made Chu Changsheng and Liuji's legs shiver. It was a sign that they couldn't bear the pressure. However, they were still struggling to endure. The heavenly secret saintess's eyes were cold. She raised her jade-like hand. Her slender fingers made a hand seal. Instantly, a light blue star compass emerged above her palm. She gazed at Ye's group of three, calculating quickly. The astrolabe spun faster and faster. In the end, with a cracking sound, it cracked open. It's you guys. The heavenly secret saintess shouted coldly. You guys killed Granny Mo. You're the executioners who killed Granny Mo. Boom! The heavenly secret saintess's aura surged, scattering everywhere. Waves of air rolled, shooting up into the sky. Liuji was shaken. He gazed at the three of them. Were they the culprits who had killed Granny Mo? Damn it! Chu Changsheng's silver hair fluttered as he exhaled. Although I'm not the great elder of the Valley of Gluttony anymore, seeing someone destroy the Valley of Gluttony like that, I'm still unhappy. So, when it's time to take action, I will take action. A moment later, the aura on his body changed completely. Soul ladders emerged above his head. 9 steps of the soul ladder appeared, and a divine altar bloomed radiantly. Earth Prison, Netherworld Bufong placed the blood marble walk fish with a thick aroma on the ground. After that, Bufong didn't hesitate, turning around and running away. Following Nethery's body, he stepped into the area guarded by the 2 stone statue Ghost Kings. The 2 stone statue Ghost Kings moved. Their noses, which were made of stone, slightly twitched. In the next moment, their scarlet eyes lit up. The 2 stone statue Ghost Kings exchanged looks. Then, a pair of small wings grew on their backs. As the small wings flapped, they flew toward the blood marble walk fish. Their attention was attracted by the blood marble walk fish. They didn't notice Bufong and you, who had just entered the area they were guarding. The blood marble walk fish was boiling, and the fish meat was bouncy and bouncing. The black fish skin and the white fish meat were soaked in the abyssal chili sauce soup, which made the dish's aroma so tempting. The two stone statue ghost kings arrived in front of the blood marble walk fish. Because of the heat, the blood marble walk fish became redder and more transparent. The blood-red lines on it seemed to come alive. The stone statue ghost kings' noses twitched. Then, they grinned and roared. The two stone statue ghost kings instantly showed their greedy and excited faces. Their bodies immediately shrunk and turned into two little stone men. They held small tridents and sat around the stone pot. Their sharp eyes shot out from the two stone statue ghost kings' eyes. In the end, the two stone statue ghost kings decided to play rock, paper, scissors to decide who would eat the fish. The stone statue ghost king who won would get a piece of the fish. With a slurping sound, a piece of bouncy fish meat entered his mouth. The stone statue ghostly king's eyes immediately lit up, and it nodded its head continuously. Its entire body danced on the spot, and it was extremely excited. The other stone statue ghost king swallowed his saliva. Instantly, he became anxious. He roared, signaling the other to continue the rock, paper, scissors game. However, in this round of rock, paper, scissors, he lost again. As the loser, he could only watch the other roll another piece of fragrant and delicious fish meat into his mouth. While the two stone statue ghost kings were playing rock, paper, scissors and eating the fish meat, Bufong and you had entered the area where the acheron grass grew. Swaying acheron grass grew by the riverside. Thick spirit energy filled the air, making people breathe in and out with majestic spirit energy. Bufong and you halted, looking at the acheron grass around them. They exchanged looks, showing a startled expression. Chapter 8:24. Bufong's and Yu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The dense, misty energy in the air seemed to condense into a solid substance, as if it was about to turn into liquid droplets and drip down. Bufong raised his hand, touching the stagnant liquid droplets in the air. The liquid droplets instantly dispersed, turning into dense spirit energy that diffused everywhere. He gently inhaled, and a wave of faint medicinal aroma surged into his abdomen. This place looked like an herb garden, but at the same time, it didn't look like an herb garden. Compared to a regular herb garden, this place was too messy. The acheron grass continued to grow and sway. Its branches and leaves were slowly swaying, causing ripples. This should be the place where the acheron grass grew. The acheron grass grew all over the riverbank. Let's move forward and look for the one-leaf acheron grass near the source, Bufong said. Then, he strode forward. He was a little bewildered. She didn't expect that the acheron grass here couldn't meet Bufong's requirements. Looking at Bufong, who had already walked forward, you had no choice but to follow him. The two of them walked along the riverbank, as if they were walking deeper and deeper into the abyss. All of a sudden, a deafening noise resounded in their ears. The rumbling sound of water vapor brushed against their faces. The two of them stood in front of a cliff. On their left was the surging Acheron River. The blood-colored Acheron River flowed ceaselessly, rising from the bottom of the cliff and turning into a waterfall, surging up from the endless source below. The loud noise was the sound of the Acheron River rushing up from the river. However, it wasn't enough to attract Bufong and Yu's attention. It was mainly because there were many spirit herbs growing under the cliff. The rich medicinal fragrance turned into a dense mist that covered the entire area. There was acheron grass on the cliff, as well as some miraculous spirit medicines. Some of the spirit medicines were in bloom, their pollen floating in the air, while others were in bud. There were also spirit medicines from shrubs with threads hanging down from them, within which grew sparkling and translucent spirit fruits. Bufong and Nethery were dazzled by the numerous spirit herbs in front of them. However, They did not dare to act rashly. This was because a gigantic spiritual beast the size of a small mountain was entrenched in the middle of the pool of blood. It seemed to be a dragon-type spirit beast that looked like a large lizard. However, it had horns on its head and a ferocious expression. The dragon's entire body was blood red, and its scarlet scales reflected the light that made one's hair stand on end. The giant dragon was lying on its stomach in a deep sleep. Every breath it took caused the water in the blood pool to ripple. The pool was bubbling, making a gurgling sound. A series of translucent souls floated above the pool. This place should be the source of the Acheron River, right? Asked Bufang. No, the source of the Acheron River is in the blood pool, under the blood dragon's butt, said Yu with an expressionless face. That blood dragon is not something we can provoke. We will pick a leaf of Acheron grass and run away immediately. I hope that big guy will not wake up, said Yu. I didn't expect that the blood-illuminating dragon would be entrenched at the source of the Acheron River. The blood-illuminating dragon. It's a real spirit beast from the antiquity time. It's in existence at the same level as the pure-blooded Tao Tai. Bufang's heart shuddered. An existence at the same level as the pure-blooded Tao Tai? That was really something. Bufang's eyes scanned the entire place. He wanted to find a one-leaf Acheron grass so that he could pick it and run away immediately. However, after scanning around, he was surprised to find that there were many Acheron grasses in this valley, but one-leaf Acheron grass was rare. Bufang searched for a long time before his sharp eyes found a shining one-leaf Acheron grass in the crack of a rock under the blood-illuminating dragon's butt. However, you thought that Bufang was a little crazy. Once the blood-illuminating dragon was provoked and woke up, Bufang would be in real danger. With the blood-illuminating dragon's power, it could swallow Bufang in one bite, leaving nothing behind. If he wanted to do it, he would do it. He took a step forward and stepped on the precipitous mountain wall that descended vertically. His figure rapidly dashed downwards. All of a sudden, the moment he landed, Bufang's toes touched the ground. His entire body spun in the air, making an arc as he landed on the ground. The spirit herbs around him emitted spirit energy, which made Bufang's heart itch. These spirit herbs were much better than the ones in the hidden dragon continent. However, this time, Bufang's target was the one-leaf Acheron grass. No matter how tempting those spirit herbs were, Bufang would not be attracted. With a flip of the vermilion robe, it immediately fluttered in the wind. His body flashed, and Bufang dashed like lightning toward that one-leaf Acheron grass. Boom! Boom! Rumble! The blood-illuminating dragon was really huge. Standing in the valley, he didn't have a reference, so he didn't think it was big. But now, as Bufang was here, he lifted his head and felt like he was facing a towering mountain. The blood-illuminating dragon crouched, opening its mouth. Its eyes squinted, and saliva dripped from its mouth. As the blood-illuminating dragon breathed in and out, it seemed to raise a storm. Bufang couldn't even stand stably. However, Bufang's body swayed, dashing under the blood-illuminating dragon's belly. After a while, he saw his target this time. It was a one-leaf Acheron grass. That Acheron grass struggled to grow in the cracks of the rocks. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't see that Acheron grass. Bufang walked carefully, his face emotionless. On the cliff, Yu held her breath. She was afraid that Bufang would wake up the blood-illuminating dragon. At that time, the two of them should stay here and become the blood-illuminating dragon's poop to fertilize the spirit herbs in this valley. As soon as Bufang picked the one-leaf Acheron grass, spirit energy rushed over his face. Bufang didn't hesitate. His hand turned, and the one-leaf Acheron grass was put away. All of a sudden, the moment he put away the Acheron grass, the blood-illuminating dragon's giant body moved. That movement instantly caused the ground to tremble. Fortunately, the blood-illuminating dragon only rolled over and went back to sleep. Bufang slowly walked out of the blood-illuminating dragon's belly. Shortly, he climbed up the cliff, returning to Yu. "Let's go. We'll retreat," said Bufang. Looking at Owner Boo's calm face, Nethery couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Owner Boo's mental fortitude was really good. He wasn't even afraid of the blood-illuminating dragon. Bu Fong, and you prepare to leave the cliff. Before they left, Bu Fong's eyes gazed at the blood-illuminating dragon. That giant beast was actually a divine beast. He wondered how the blood-illuminating dragon's meat tasted. If he had a chance, he wanted to taste it. The two of them walked out of that area, dashing away. They didn't dare to be careless because Bu Fong didn't know how long the blood marble walk fish would last. When the two of them arrived at the entrance, they were dumbfounded. Far from them, the two stone statue ghost kings were so broken. The stones on their bodies had so many fine cracks. The two of them shivered and stood where they were, their scarlet eyes gazing at each other. The blood marble walk had only one piece of fish meat left. That piece of meat was so tender that it could make people drool. The two of them seemed to have fought for this piece of fish meat. One of the stone statue ghost kings wanted to play rock, paper, scissors to decide. However, the other stone statue ghost king wasn't happy because he had lost badly. He didn't even get a piece of fish meat. Looking at the stone statue ghost king eating with grease dripping from his mouth, he was so angry. If he lost the last piece of fish meat, the stone statue ghost king thought that he would explode in anger. Thus, he didn't agree to play rock, paper, scissors to decide the winner. He directly took action. The two stone statue ghost kings attacked each other. Everything around them was wrecked, showing signs of destruction. Only the blood marble walk fish was intact. Bu Fong and Yu gawked and dropped their jaws. They didn't know what had happened in such a short time. Why did the two stone statue ghost kings become so broken? The two stone statue ghost kings bare their fangs. Then, they raised their tridents, stabbing each other. Crack! Crack! The two tridents were pierced through, shattering into pieces, falling to the ground. The souls of the two stone statue ghost kings flew out, struggling and fighting. However, in the end, they tore each other apart. What happened the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint made Bu Fong a little dumbstruck. Run! Yu's eyes shrank as she shouted. Then, her body accelerated, shooting away into the distance in just a blink of an eye. Roar! An ear-piercing dragon roar arose. This dragon roar seemed to echo through the entire earth prison of the netherworld, shaking the ground 3 times. A terrifying gust of wind arose. A moment later, crushed stones were sent flying, and spirit herbs were destroyed. Under the cliff, a giant blood-colored monster soared up. Because of the two stone statue ghost kings, it soared up into the sky. Bu Fong and Yu's faces changed instantly. They didn't expect that the harvesting process would be so smooth. However, the two foolish stone statue ghost kings would kill each other because of a dish which had disturbed the sleeping blood-illuminating dragon. That blood-illuminating dragon wasn't easy to deal with. Its lantern-like gold eyes turned, locking on Bu Fong and Yu. The blood-illuminating dragon suddenly opened its mouth and roared. Intruders, die! Its massive wings flapped. Instantly, the air howled and the void shattered. The blood-illuminating dragon's body zoomed toward Bu Fong and Yu, inside a towering white bone palace. This palace was made entirely out of white bones, and there were flames dancing in the holes of each bone. A faint voice rang out, and inside the grand hall, Lord Dog was lying in the middle of the hall, chatting with an existence shrouded in a hazy blood mist above the hall. All of a sudden, Lord Go's brows arched. Great Sage Acheron, who was sitting on the host's seat, was shaken. A moment later, Great Sage Acheron was enraged. Lord Go, I'm so happy that you're back. I also hope to talk to you more. Unfortunately, some blind thing has provoked the blood-illuminating dragon that I've placed at the source of the Acheron River. I need to go and deal with it. Great Sage Acheron said. However, in the next moment, Lord Dog also stood up, the chubby flesh on his body violently trembling. Lord Go wore an odd face, grinning at Great Sage Acheron. A moment later, he swung his paw, tearing the void and leaving. Great Sage Acheron was bewildered by Lord Go's move. A moment later, the blood mist seemed to boil. This damned mangy dog! How dare you trick me? I'm so angry." As if he had figured something out, Yellow Spring Great Sage's furious roar rang out of the palace. Facing the terrifying pressure from the blood-illuminating dragon, Bu Fong chose to summon Little Huss. His hand shook, and a handful of spicy strips emerged. He waved them in the air. On the other side of the Acheron River, Little Huss's nose suddenly twitched. He bit off the spicy strip that was moving in and out his mouth, and his eyes shone brightly. Spicy strip. The spicy strip is calling I. A moment later, Little Huss soared into the sky, dashing toward the Acheron River. He stepped into the Acheron River. His feet touched the surface of the Acheron River like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, dashing toward the other side. He was running toward his spicy strip. Chapter 825. Valley of Gluttony. The wind was howling, blowing the crushed rocks on the ground. The city wall had collapsed, creating a big gap. Crushed rocks rolled from the gap, falling on the ground. It was a scene of devastation. The place was deserted. All the people of the Valley of Gluttony were so frightened, running away to the Gluttony Square in the Valley of Gluttony. The Gluttony Square was the safest place in the Gluttony God City. It had become the place of hope and refuge for the people of the Valley of Gluttony. The guards couldn't stop these three demons. The three of them had nether energy filling the sky. They brought their imposing auras and towering black clouds. The black clouds covered the sky and the sun, covering everything. Darkness surged inside the black clouds as if it wanted to swallow everything. Mo's group of three stood at the entrance of the Gluttony God City, looking playfully at the bunch of ants who wanted to resist. Mo Sa grinned, his saliva dripping unceasingly. He was so excited. At least, there was some food he could eat. For example, the silver-haired young man and a young man who was drinking wine with his chest exposed, and the saintess who was graceful and elegant like a banished immortal. These people were rare delicacies in Mo Sa's heart, especially the saintess. At first glance, he knew she was pink and tender. She was really delicious. Mo's indifferent eyes gazed at the heavenly secret saintess. The heavenly star catcher disc was with this woman. He hoped that Mo Cha would be more reliable this time. He wouldn't make a mistake again. Haha. Big brother Moe, you're right. This time, I'm absolutely right. The heavenly star catcher disc is with that woman. Mo Cha's wings flapped, his body dancing in the air. He was so excited. All of a sudden, Mo Cha moved. The wings on his back flapped hard as if they wanted to tear the space apart. In just a blink of an eye, he dashed toward the heavenly secret saintess. The void seemed as though it was about to be pierced through, and a huge hole appeared. Ha! Give me the heavenly star catcher disc. Mo Cha laughed excitedly. His hand turned green with sharp nails. He pointed at the saintess's glabella. Crack! Mo Lyoji's eyes narrowed. The bamboo tube in his hand was crushed by his palm. The wine splashed. Mo Lyoji was enraged. He stood in front of the saintess and attacked Mo Cha. A square stone seal appeared in Mo Lyoji's hand. The stone seal was engraved with many mysterious patterns, which looked like a net covering the stone seal. The stone seal radiated dazzling light. Mo Lyoji grabbed it and threw it at Mo Cha. The stone seal pierced through the air, its power soaring into the sky. Mo Lyoji's face was extremely serious. It was rare to see him this serious. His aura was like flowing water, slowly flowing. A white soul ladder emerged above his head. The steps of the soul ladder appeared one by one. Finally, the 9 steps of the soul ladder emitted a dazzling light. A beam of light hung above the soul ladder, illuminating the entire sky. Mo Lyoji's aura became extremely terrifying. He let out a long howl and a furious roar. Granny Mo was dead. Granny Mo, who had watched him grow up, was dead just like that. This filled Mo Lyoji with rage. Although he had been comforting the saintess, he was angrier than anyone else. As he saw the culprit, he couldn't suppress his anger. As the most talented young man in the heavenly secret Holy Land, he had calculated everything, but he couldn't predict Granny Mo's death. The stone seal soared up into the sky. As it spun, it crushed the void. Of course, Cha didn't care about that. He didn't care about Lyoji's flame of anger. His target was the heavenly secret saintess. Of course, he wouldn't care about this ant-like man. According to Yi, they didn't have much time. They had to destroy the heavenly star catcher disc or bring it back. Get lost. Cha's wings flapped and feathers fluttered in the air. A trident appeared in his hand. He swung it, crossing the void and hitting the stone seal. With just one strike, the stone seal with its terrifying power was blown back like a piece of scrap metal. Cha shouted. His eyes shot out a thick, murderous aura. As hot-tempered as he was, he only had one word for anyone who tried to stop him. Kill. Lyoji's eyes shrank. His heart chilled. Worthy of being the devil who could kill Granny Mo. His power was too terrifying. A glowing compass appeared in his hand. The compass was densely covered with formations. The formation spun, blocking in front of him. Boom! The trident smashed down and smashed into the formation. The formation collapsed with a loud bang. Lyoji grunted. Blood oozed from his nose and mouth. He was blown away, landing in the distance. Compared to that devil, Lyoji, who hadn't reached the divine spirit realm, was much weaker. He couldn't even resist a casual strike from the other. Chu Changsheng also took in a breath of cold air when he saw this. He took a step forward, and the clothes on his body suddenly burst into pieces. He dashed toward Cha. While he was flying, his body enlarged. His muscles bulged, and his skinny body grew taller in just a blink of an eye. He turned into a 3-meter-tall giant. Boom! His two fists pounded, creating an explosion. Chu Changsheng's divine altar bloomed with radiance, releasing beams of energy. Chu Changsheng's body seemed to want to break through space. His eyes became sharp. Cha didn't expect that Chu Changsheng could turn into such a giant in just a blink of an eye. That oppressive fist smashed over, causing him to be slightly surprised. He raised his trident to stop that punch. Cha's body was sent flying a little far away. Cha's eyes brightened when he saw Chu Changsheng's transformation. He seemed to be cheered up in just a blink of an eye. This meat must be delicious. Cha roared excitedly. His body zoomed in front of Chu Changsheng, and a fist that was as heavy as a mountain pounded on Chu Changsheng. Chu Changsheng bellowed. His entire body emitted a crackling sound like frying beans. His muscles twitched, and his power quickly gathered on his fists. He also punched. The two giants' fists collided in the air. The sound of fists hitting flesh made people's hearts skip a beat. Chu Changsheng's eyes shrank. His heart also shrank. Chu Changsheng was inexplicably frightened by the unparalleled feeling that came from his opponent's fist. He couldn't stop that punch. Boom! Cha's face was filled with excitement. His fist pressed down on Chu Changsheng, directly hitting his head. The enormous body was violently sent flying through the air like a cannonball, smashing into the ground and emitting a loud sound. The ground trembled and collapsed, forming a deep depression. This scene was enough to show how intimidating Cha's punch was. Weak chicken. Cha stepped in the air, grinning and laughing mockingly. His big hand rubbed the horn on his head. He was so excited. It was rare to meet a giant. Unfortunately, his power was too weak. Cha roared, his voice ear-piercing. His two fists pounded, and his body suddenly soared. Thick nether energy wound around his body. Swoosh! His body roared and fell from the sky, hitting the ground with a thud. A wave of air surged from the ground, cracking it unceasingly. Chu Changsheng roared, jumping up from the ground. His fists pounded the air. It caused the air to explode continuously, turning into a terrifying air cannon. Those air cannons hit Cha's body, creating explosions. However, it didn't make Cha retreat. Are you scratching an itch? Cha grinned. His palm pounded on Chu Changsheng. Cha's body soared again. At this moment, he was like a majestic mountain. Chu Changsheng's 3-meter-tall body looked tiny in front of this mountain. His palm pounded like a mountain pressing down. Chu Changsheng raised his fist to resist that palm. However, Chu Changsheng's legs had sunk into the ground. Blue veins bulged on his body. Chu Changsheng's eyes widened. Under this palm, his body was slightly bent. Slap you to death. Then I'll eat you. Mo Sa's eyes brightened. With Chu Changsheng's strong body, he would definitely taste good. Although Chu Changsheng's cultivation base was only at the half-step divine spirit realm, his fighting competence wasn't weaker than ordinary divine spirit realm experts. After being modified by the Taoye's heart, his body was really strong. It made it easy for Chu Changsheng to fight against those at a higher realm. Unfortunately, Mo Sa's power was too formidable and intimidating. Chu Changsheng felt as though he was about to suffocate. Thump! Thump! His heart pounded furiously, making him feel as though his entire body was about to burn. Far from him, Mo Liuji staggered to his feet from the ruins. His mouth and nose were overflowing with blood, and he was in an extremely sorry state. However, his eyes were still as sharp as ever. He staggered to the heavenly secret saintess standing in front of her. He was panting heavily, and his body was trembling slightly. Mo Cha's murderous aura surged. Looking at Mo Liuji standing in front of him, an unknown flame of anger arose in his heart. You ant, do you really want to die? You want to stop me? What do you have to stop me? The trident spun, and a moment later, Mo Cha pushed it. A massive force burst out from the trident. With a whistling sound, the trident pierced toward Mo Liuji, who was swaying back and forth. The sharp tip of the trident sparkled with cold light. Nether energy twirled around it, and its power was earth-shaking. Mo Liuji gazed at the trident. A moment later, he gritted his teeth and roared. Green veins bulged on his neck. The formation under his feet sparkled, releasing energy. Boom! Thousands of starlight twirled around Mo Liuji. A star compass appeared in Mo Liuji's hand. Heavenly secret technique, demon subduing. Mo Liuji's hair fluttered, his eyes surging with murderous aura. Mo Cha rolled his eyes. That old hag's trick. Go die. Swish! The trident slashed on the starlight column in front of Mo Liuji. However, from the sky, the falling stars also bombarded Mo Cha, who was trying to dodge. Mo Cha had dodged many falling stars, but he was still hit. His body fell to the ground. Tui! The star energy around Mo Liuji's body dispersed. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He staggered a few steps backward before falling to the ground in a daze. He felt his strength rapidly leaving his body. Mo Liuji looked at the dark clouds covering the sky, cursing under his breath. King hated this kind of strenuous battle the most. He was going to die, but he couldn't have a sip of Ownerbu's good wine. He would die with regrets. Suddenly, a soft hand supported his fallen body and slowly lowered it, allowing him to lie steadily on the ground. A white dress fluttered, brushing against Mo Liuji's blood-soaked face. Mo Liuji was dumbstruck. The endless darkness in the sky swallowed and swarmed toward the valley of gluttony. In the void, Mo Cha released nether energy from his entire body. Holding the trident, his anger rocketed. The heavenly secret saintess's white dress fluttered. Her long, black hair rolled as she faced the three devils. A whistling sound arose from the gluttony square. A gold shadow broke the sky, dashing toward them. Chapter 826. Earth Prison, Netherworld above the Acheron River. The blood mist was hazy. Hades' era clasped his hands, holding a spicy strip in his mouth as he walked confidently. He stepped on the blood-colored water of the Acheron River. Boom, 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 boom. His feet stepped on it, splashing water everywhere. All of a sudden, a giant phantom soared up into the sky from the Acheron River. It opened its mouth, roaring at Hades. The blood-colored water flowed along the giant beast's scales, looking ferocious. Hades' era's hair fluttered in the wind caused by the giant waves. Holding a spicy strip in his mouth, he looked at the giant beast, his nose wrinkling. A moment later, Hades' Era's body emitted a formidable aura. That aura stagnated, gathering into a phantom behind Era. As soon as that phantom appeared, dark clouds rolled in the sky of the netherworld. The giant beast was startled. With a splash, it fell back into the blood-colored Acheron River. The river resumed its tranquil state. Naughty, Hades snorted, continuing to tread on the waves. Shortly, he crossed the blood mist, reaching the other side of the river. As soon as he stepped on the water, his body shot forward. His eyes were filled with excitement as he gazed into the distance. There, Bufong was holding a shiny spicy strip, running crazily. Hades roared, directly landing by Bufong and you. He flipped his hair, looking handsome and confident. Roar! An ear-piercing dragon roar reverberated, and a terrifying pressure diffused. The surging water of the Acheron River seemed to calm down under this pressure. When Hades' Era heard the dragon roar, he was bewildered. He turned around, startled. Previously, he only had the spicy strip in his eyes, so he didn't pay attention to why Bufong and you were running crazily. He didn't expect to see such a giant beast when he turned around. Blood illuminating dragon? Youngsters nowadays are really not afraid of death. Hades' Era grinned. In the next moment, he took the spicy strip from Bufong's hand and followed Bufong, running with his long legs. Bufong, and you were dumbfounded. What does that mean? What did Hades' Era mean? You took the spicy strips and didn't work? Was he planning to eat for free? Bufong raised his eyebrows and cast a puzzled look at Hades' Era. Didn't you say that if there's trouble, I'll summon you using spicy strips? Bufong asked curiously. Yeah, I'm here now. Hades took out a spicy strip and put it in the corner of his mouth. He looked at Bufong from the corner of his eyes. What's the point of you coming here? To accompany us? The corner of Bufong's mouth twitched as he continued to ask. You young man, it's not easy for I to accompany you. You should cherish it. Hades flipped his hair, covering half of his face with one hand. Bufong turned his head to look at the approaching blood-illuminating dragon. Then, he turned back to Nether King Erha, his face expressionless. Then what's the point of keeping you? Roar. A dragon's roar resounded, and the heat wave behind him immediately surged forward. Boom! Hades' Era's eyes narrowed. He reached out, placing his hands on Bufong and Yu's shoulders. His body rose instantly. The terrifying fiery red dragon breath hit the ground. Instantly, the ground was melted by the high temperature of the dragon breath. Looking at Hades' group of three, the blood-illuminating dragon's eyes moved. The blood-illuminating dragon's eyes rolled. A moment later, it opened its mouth and roared. Its mouth opened wide, revealing many sharp teeth, which made people's scalps go numb. Its big mouth aimed at Hades' Era, provoking the blood-illuminating dragon. You two young men have guts. This blood-illuminating dragon has thick skin. It's hard and stinky. Anyone who touches it will have a headache. Hades' Era's body was as light as a swallow. He grabbed Bufong and Yu, hovering in the air. He dodged the terrifying bite of the blood-illuminating dragon. The tip of his foot touched the dragon's head. His foot gently stomped. Instantly, the air waves turned into ripples, scattering everywhere. The blood-illuminating dragon's giant body was stomped, pounding into the ground. Lava exploded, splashing everywhere. However, when the blood-illuminating dragon landed on the ground, its long and narrow tail, which was full of sharp edges, swept over. Even the void seemed to shatter under this sweep. That massive tail was terrifyingly powerful. The power it contained was frightening. Even an existence at the divine spirit realm would be smashed into pieces if this tail brushed them. So this was the terrifying existence in the netherworld. Bufong exhaled gently. Hades' Era had a headache. How did you provoke this thing? The blood-illuminating dragon lives at the source of the Acheron River. Under normal circumstances, it won't wake up. When I tried to steal the reincarnation fruit, I had almost moved the entire tree away, but this fellow didn't wake up. If those two stupid stone men hadn't found me, that old Acheron wouldn't have blacklisted me. Bufong and you exchanged looks. They didn't know what to say. They felt that the reason they had provoked the blood-illuminating dragon was a little strange, and they couldn't accept it. Everything was fine. However, when we were about to leave, the two stone statue ghost kings guarding the gate had a conflict because of Bu Fong's food. They fought each other. Eventually, you thought for a while, then explained. Hades' era was bewildered. Then he laughed so hard that his tears almost rolled down his cheeks. Those two stupid stone men killed each other? Interesting. No wonder why you had a toy like the blood-illuminating dragon. I'm afraid you're going to provoke that old bastard Acheron. Hades couldn't stop laughing. The blood-illuminating dragon on the ground roared angrily. It lifted its head, roaring. Far from them, the void collapsed instantly. A black, fat dog flew out of the void. It stuck out its tongue, walking like a cat. The fat on its body shook. Lord Go got out of the void. After 2 cat-like steps, he appeared next to Hades' era. He gave Bu Fong an indifferent look with his dog eyes and snorted. Bu Fong, young man, didn't I tell you to pick only a 1-leaf Acheron grass? Why did you cause such a big commotion? Did you take the 9-leaf Acheron grass from the great sage, the Acheron grass? However, as soon as Lord Go finished asking, a giant phantom emerged behind him. The blood-illuminating dragon lifted its giant head, its eyes as bright as lanterns. It opened its mouth, revealing its sharp fangs, which sent chills down people's spines. Roar! The dragon's roar was accompanied by the terrifying wind. Lord Go hovered in the void. The fat on his body shook unceasingly under the dragon's roar. Swaying his tail, Lord Go turned around and saw the giant head of the blood-illuminating dragon. The blood-illuminating dragon opened its mouth, biting down. It wanted to swallow Lord Go, Hades, and the others. All of a sudden, the blood-illuminating dragon's biting motion suddenly paused. Its eyeballs froze, and its movement stopped in the air. That was because the black, fat dog in front of it suddenly emitted a flow of monstrous nether energy. The surging pressure had scared the blood-illuminating dragon so much that its scales had to open. Where did you come from, evil creature? Get down. Lord Go's gentle, magnetic voice arose. A moment later, the blood-illuminating dragon's body shook. It retreated quickly, flapped its wings, and flew away. Then it crouched on the ground, not moving an inch. Oh, mangy dog, you do have some power, don't you? Hades' era looked at the shivering blood-illuminating dragon in front of Lord Go. His eyes brightened, grinning. Listening to Hades' era's teasing words, Lord Go's doggy mouth twitched. Lord Go loves sweet and sour dragon ribs the most. If this little worm dares to be presumptuous, Lord Go doesn't mind having an extra meal. In the distance, the void was torn one more time. A figure shrouded in a hazy radiance suddenly walked out. It was the legendary Great Sage Acheron, the controller of the Acheron River. As soon as this person appeared, the entire world seemed to change dramatically. The water of the Acheron River became more turbulent. The moment Hades' era saw the Great Sage Acheron, he curled his lips, turned around, and ran away. Lord Go glanced at the Great Sage Acheron. Then he strode like a cat, twisting his fat, but as he flew away, Great Sage Acheron's eyes seemed to shoot divine light. He saw the shivering blood-illuminating dragon crouching on the ground. He was startled. Then his mind shivered, and he turned to look into the distance. There on the ground were the bodies of the 2 stone statue ghost kings and a blood marble walk fish that was still steaming. His 2 stone statue ghost kings were broken. Great Sage Acheron was enraged. The entire space seemed to shake violently. Hades brought Bu Fong and you to the Acheron River. You summoned the netherworld ship, and Bu Fong and you stepped into it. Hades pushed his hand, and the netherworld ship instantly accelerated, dashing toward the other side of the river. You 2 young people should go first. I and Lord Go will go and watch the fun. Bu Fong and you stood on the bow of the ship, speechlessly looking at Hades' era, who had a spicy strip dangling from his mouth, running toward Great Sage Acheron. Great Sage Acheron was enraged. He was so enraged that he had gone crazy. His Acheron grass was stolen. These two stupid stone statue ghostly kings actually killed each other over a mere delicacy. What kind of morons did this great sage raise? The blood-illuminating dragon was afraid of Lord Go's power, so it lay on the ground. However, after a while, it couldn't help but take deep breaths. Its lantern-sized eyes squinted, snoring loudly. Great Sage Acheron landed by the blood marble wok fish. Looking at the boiling soup in the wok and the thick aroma, the corners of his mouth convulsed. He glanced at the stone statue Ghost King's broken pieces on the ground, and he couldn't help but get angry. His mind flickered, and the void seemed to tremble. Great Sage Acheron's hand shook, sucking in the void. A moment later, the scene seemed to change. Two transparent souls condensed, turning into two bewildered remnant souls of the stone statue Ghost Kings. Looking at the two bewildered fools, Great Sage Acheron snorted inwardly. A moment later, his hand waved again, and nether energy diffused. The crushed stones on the ground rolled, turning into the bodies of the stone statue Ghost Kings. The remnant souls entered their bodies, and the stone statue Ghost Kings, who had killed each other, recovered. After recovering, the two stone statue Ghost Kings immediately began to fight. Their dispute hadn't ended yet. Boom, boom, boom. These two fools made Great Sage Acheron so angry. He raised his hand, slapping each of them. The two stone statue Ghost Kings fell hard on the ground, embedding themselves there. For a piece of fish, you two fools killed each other? This sage asked you to guard the Acheron grass, not to make trouble for this sage. Acheron Great Sage pointed at the two stone statue Ghost Kings, cursing loudly. His eyes turned, falling on the fish in the stone wok. There was still a piece of fish floating in the wok. His finger flicked, and that piece of fish flew out of the gravy with a plop. With a thick aroma, it entered Great Sage Acheron's mouth. Great Sage Acheron, who was shrouded in a hazy radiance, let out a soft cry of surprise. Then, he turned around and gave the two stone statue Ghost Kings a good beating. You two fools. Such delicious food was wasted by you two fools. You didn't think of this sage when there was good food. You motherf asterisk cur. In the sky, far away, Hades held a spicy strip in his mouth, watching with relish. The fat on Lord Go's face couldn't help but shake. After punching the stone statue Ghost Kings twice, Yellow Spring Great Sage walked to the side of the blood-illuminating dragon, his anger still lingering. He kicked the blood-illuminating dragon's butt, which woke it up abruptly from its sleep on the ground. The blood-illuminating dragon roared. However, halfway through its roar, Great Sage Acheron had slapped its butt. Go back to sleep. Damn it, including you. This sage has raised 3F asterisk king retards. A moment later, Great Sage Acheron lifted his head to look at Hades and Lord Go in the sky. Hades had seen enough of a joke. He turned around and left, laughing loudly. Lord Go also turned around. He didn't laugh, but his dog wiggled, which made Great Sage Acheron even angrier. You two rascals, just wait for this Great Sage. If you can take even one strand of Acheron grass from I will not be surnamed Huang. Crack. Chapter 8:27. On the Acheron River, the waves were surging violently. It seemed that because of the Great Sage Acheron's anger, the entire Acheron River was surging, and the water splashed and rolled. The Netherworld ship rode the wind and broke through the waves, breaking through the blood-colored river water as it sped forward. Bufong and you stood on the deck of the Netherworld ship. The wind blew, causing their hair to flutter. In the distance, the hazy blood fog drifted over once again. The Netherworld ship turned into a speeding black dot on the Acheron River, charging straight into the blood fog. Rumble. The river water slapped on the deck, causing the Netherworld ship to sway slightly. Lord Go and Hades quickly caught up and landed on the Netherworld ship. Hades swung his hair, raised his hand to cover half of his face, and leaned on the deck, laughing nonstop. The way the great sage Acheron taught those two foolish stone men a lesson made him somewhat happy. Back then, because of those foolish stone men, he had suffered a lot. He was always caught stealing the reincarnation fruit, and in the end, he was chased by the great sage Acheron. That embarrassing appearance of his became a joke, and it spread throughout the entire Earth prison. Now that those two stone men were taught a lesson, Hades was naturally secretly happy. Lord Go also landed on the Netherworld ship. His dog eyes lifted slightly, and he glanced at Bufong. "Have you picked the Acheron grass?" Lord Go asked. Bufong nodded. Although he was discovered, he still managed to pick a leaf of Acheron grass. At the very least, he did not suffer a loss. Just a one-leaf Acheron grass? Lord Go's magnetic voice continued to ask. "That's right." Bufong furrowed his brows and looked at Lord Go. Wasn't this lazy dog the one who said that he could only pick one? Could it be that it had changed now? "Are you stupid? Now that you've been discovered, if you don't take a few more, your trip to hell will be in vain." Lord Go rolled his eyes at Bufong. Bufong looked at him expressionlessly, slightly speechless. Hades Era also came over with a chili strip stuffed into his mouth. He said, "I agree with this mangy dog. Since you've already been discovered, you should move all the spiritual plants at the source of the reincarnation fruit tree. You can uproot it and take it away if you can. Let me tell you, the reincarnation fruit is a true delicacy." Bufong looked at the man and dog who were instigating him to move everything away, and the corner of his mouth twitched. What kind of enmity did these two have with the great sage Acheron? This was too cruel. Hades Era, in particular, had a look of excitement on his face as he spoke. It was as if he was the one doing it right now. Yu's mouth also twitched. She felt sorry for the great sage Acheron for a second. The Netherworld ship traveled through the Acheron River, and the blood mist shrouded it. All of a sudden, in the blood mist ahead, a black shadow emerged. That black shadow swayed, and its speed wasn't fast. However, it was approaching the Netherworld ship at a fast speed. As it approached, a wave of cold energy covered it instantly. A faint flute sound echoed. It reverberated across the entire Acheron River. Bufong was bewildered. He turned his head to look and saw a small boat slowly emerging from the blood mist. It was a small boat made of pitch-black material. On the boat was an old man wearing a bamboo hat and a straw raincoat. The old man sat cross-legged at the front of the small boat, holding a white bone flute in his hand. His mouth was near the bone flute, and a leisurely melody floated out of the bone flute, lingering in the surroundings. The sound of the flute seemed to have a special kind of temptation, which made people's bodies and minds involuntarily be attracted, completely falling into it. At this moment, Bufong felt as though he had fallen into that bone flute. As the sound of the bone flute resounded, many scenes flashed in front of his eyes. These scenes were memories from the depths of his mind. There were memories from Earth, the Light Wind Empire, and the Pill Palace. Many memories turned into fragments, causing Bufong's eyes to become blurred. Woof! All of a sudden, a lazy dog bark resounded. Bufong's memories were instantly shattered. His entire body was startled, as though he had been sucked out of the river. His entire body was covered in sweat. Bufong gasped for breath, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He glanced at Lord Go and found that this lazy dog was lying on the ground. He glanced at Bufong with a smile that wasn't a smile. Then, he twitched his dog's nose and snorted. Hades Era sat at the side, crossing his legs. He held a chili strip in his hand as he moved it in and out. You also woke up from the dog's bark. However, her condition was much better than Bufong's. This is the soul fisherman of the Acheron River, the old man who fishes souls. He guides the souls to the bridge of helplessness and washes their memories, helping these souls enter the cycle of reincarnation. Hades Era licked his chili strip, looking at Bufong and you as he explained. Bufong was bewildered, and his eyes emitted a radiance. Guide the souls to the bridge of helplessness? Is there a flower of helplessness on the bridge of helplessness? Bufong asked. Hades was bewildered. Bufong, young man, Do you still need something like the flower of helplessness? To be honest, the flower of helplessness is really disgusting. It's sour and bitter, and it tortures people. Bufong's face was expressionless. This guy had even eaten the flower of helplessness. If you want the flower of helplessness, it's not difficult. Get on that old man's boat, and he will naturally bring you to the bridge of helplessness. The flower of helplessness isn't as valuable as the acheron grass, so picking it isn't difficult, Hades said. He said it lightly, but Bufong had an urge to hit him. That old man was an unfathomable existence with a single glance. Just the sound of his flute had nearly erased his memories. Once his memory was erased, he would become an idiot. Then, the talk of becoming the god of cooking would become empty talk. Thus, Bufong was a little scared. And now, Hades wanted him to get on that old soul fisherman's boat. Wasn't that the same as courting death? If you don't want to get on the boat, you should find that old man to exchange for the flower of helplessness yourself. That old man came from the bridge of helplessness, so he must have the flower of helplessness. Although that thing tastes disgusting, it's a good way to replenish energy, continued Hades. Then, he didn't pay attention to Bufong anymore, continuing to bring the spicy strip in and out of the boat. Find that old soul fisherman to exchange for the flower of helplessness? Bufong's eyes narrowed, suddenly thinking that it wasn't a bad idea. Be careful. The soul fisherman is really scary, said you vigilantly. Bufong nodded. A moment later, the small boat approached. Under Yu's control, the netherworld ship stopped. Bufong stood at the bow, looking at the boat that was slowly coming to a stop. The old soul fisherman took off his bamboo hat, revealing his white hair and a weather-beaten face. His face was bony and bony. The cursed netherworld ship has stopped this old man's rebirth boat. What do you mean by that? The old man didn't play the bone flute anymore. Instead, he spoke in a hoarse voice. Bufong's gaze swept over the old man. He looked at the bone flute in the old man's hand. That bone flute was actually made of finger bones connected together. It was extremely awe-inspiring and terrifying. Old senior, I wonder if you have the flower of helplessness? I'm in urgent need of the flower of helplessness, so I want to exchange one with you, said Bufong, his face emotionless. When the old man heard Bufong, he suddenly laughed. His bony appearance looked a little sinister when he laughed. This old man rides a small boat to cross the Acheron River to wash away his sins. Then, he will enter the reincarnation well to be reborn. Kid, if you want to exchange, use your soul, said the soul fisherman. Then, the old man opened his palm, and a purple, swaying flower emerged. That flower looked a little like a morning glory, but it was deep purple. The stamens inside were constantly moving. It was the flower of helplessness, an important ingredient for Bufong to brew the Acheron of helplessness. Bufong's trip to Earth Prison this time was to get these two ingredients. Now that he saw the flower of helplessness, of course, he wouldn't let it go. You want my soul? Bufong furrowed his brows, looking at the old man. His eyes became cold. The old man smiled. However, his smile made one's hair stand on end, and it made one's hair stand on end. Kid, do you want to exchange? The soul fisherman grinned. His voice was so charming that people couldn't help but sink into it. It was a trick that the soul fisherman often used to tempt people. When the other couldn't resist the temptation, their souls would become the soul fisherman's delicacy. Lord Go and Hades glanced at Bufong, but this time they didn't say anything. Bufong's eyes were misty. His spirit's sea, on the other hand, was filled with raging waves. In the darkness of his spirit's sea, giant shadows emerged one by one. The gold dragon meandered in the spirit's sea, hovering in the sky. It opened its mouth, letting out a soul-shaking dragon roar. In that instant, Bufong pulled himself together. The soul fisherman's charm on him failed. Exchange your sister. Facing the soul fisherman's charming question, Bufong looked at him with an emotionless face. The smile on the soul fisherman's face froze. Lord Go, we need to hurry. Don't talk so much. Just give me the flower of helplessness. As the soul fisherman was about to attack, a dog's paw emerged from the netherworld ship. The dog's paw reached toward the soul fisherman. The moment the soul fisherman saw the dog's paw, his face changed dramatically. A moment later, he let go of the flower of helplessness, riding a rebirth boat to escape. It was that mangy dog, just a flower of helplessness. Why did that mangy dog have to use its paw? Bufong waved his hand, and the flower of helplessness fell into his hand. The quality of the flower wasn't bad. Although it wasn't the best, it was enough to satisfy Bufong. The Lord Go's paw turned into a strand of fluttering dog fur, flying back to Lord Go. Lord Go yawned, rolling over and continuing to sleep. Previously, Lord Go didn't use his paw. Instead, he did it after Bufong got rid of the soul fisherman's charm. It seemed he wanted to let Bufong gain some experience. Bufong turned to look at Lord Go, the corners of his mouth twitching. The netherworld ship continued to move forward, dashing fast. Soon, it would get out of the blood mist. However, just as it was about to get out of the blood mist, inside the mist emerged a picture that Bufong and you were very familiar with. That picture made the two of them gawk. A pitch-black ship was pulling a bronze palace, crossing the Acheron River. On the netherworld ship, Lord Go's dog fur bristled. His drowsy eyes widened. Hades' era went in and out. His eyes widened, almost choking on his spicy strip. A man and a dog lay on the deck of the netherworld ship, looking at the bronze palace being pulled away by the black ship. Bufong looked into the distance, and he could feel a mysterious aura coming from the palace. However, the palace disappeared just as fast as it appeared. The netherworld ship quickly got out of the blood mist, but it couldn't see the shadow of the palace anymore. Lord Go resumed his lazy appearance, lying on the deck. Hades' era continued to eat his spicy strip, as if the previous fright didn't happen. The blood mist disappeared, and the netherworld ship reached the shore. 3 people and 1 dog finally got out of the Acheron River, reaching the shore. Chapter 828. On the bank of the Acheron River, Bufong stood quietly, playing with the flower of helplessness in his hand. He didn't expect to have such a pleasant surprise when he returned. He had planned to go to the bridge of helplessness for this flower of helplessness. Now, it saved him a lot of trouble. At least, he could save a lot of time. After all, the system only allowed him to stay in Earth prison for 3 days. Now, 2 days had passed. If he didn't return soon, he would be summoned back by the system. After all, the system had to prioritize his safety. If he went to the bridge of helplessness, he might not be able to return to the hidden dragon continent in time. At that time, he would have a headache. On this trip to Earth prison, Bufong had seen a lot of things. The Earth prison and the hidden dragon continent were really different. The Earth prison was too big, too mysterious, and there were too many powerful forces. Compared to the Earth prison, the hidden dragon continent was indeed much weaker. According to Hades, the Earth prison and the hidden dragon continent were not on the same playing level. Hades had told Bufong that the Earth prison was very big. This Acheron River was just a corner of the Earth prison. There were many mysterious forbidden areas in the Earth prison, and each forbidden area had a very terrifying existence. Whether it was the senseless lotus or the bronze palace floating in the Acheron River, they were all full of mysterious aura. Especially that mysterious palace, which made Lord Go and Hades shocked. It must be extraordinary. As for how extraordinary it was, Bufong couldn't understand it at his current level. It's time to return. Bufong sighed. This trip had really broadened his knowledge. He had obtained the Acheron grass and the flower of helplessness. This trip was considered complete. When he returned, he could start to brew the Acheron helplessness wine. He believed that this wine would definitely surpass the wine that Bufong had brewed before. Its fragrance would spread all over the city. System, return. Bufong said quietly in his heart. Now, return. As soon as Bufong's voice fell, the system's solemn and earnest voice resounded. In the next moment, white specks of light appeared. The white speck of light rapidly drew in the air, quickly drawing a mysterious array. Hades' era and Lord Go looked at the white dot curiously. There seemed to be a strange light flickering in the depths of the man and the dog's eyes. To be able to quickly draw the array that could travel between the hidden dragon and the netherworld, Bufong's secret was not simple. After the formation was completed, the white formation rotated in the air. Soon, a gust of wind blew. The wind whistled and turned into a tornado. Bufong and the others stepped into the formation and were engulfed by the wind. Soon, the formation dissipated and disappeared amidst the bloody mist of the Acheron River. It seemed like a pair of eyes opened, gazing at their disappearing figures. Damn it, run away after showing off. This great sage's Acheron grass isn't that easy to pick. No matter what you eat, this great sage will have to spit it out. The blood mist rumbled. A moment later, the eyes closed and disappeared. The Acheron River resumed its tranquility. The blood-colored water flowed. In the river, skeletons floated, and remnant souls howled and drifted. Hidden Dragon Continent, Valley of Gluttony. Cha, who wanted to take action, paused. He lifted his head, squinting as he looked into the distance. From there, a gold shadow was dashing over. It was a giant snake with golden scales all over its body. The snake had a bump on its head, and a little girl, who looked like she was carved from jade, was sitting on its back. As soon as this strange combination appeared, it attracted Cha and Sa's eyes. Yi clasped his hands behind his back. His clothes fluttered in the wind. He frowned as he looked at the giant golden snake that was flying over from the void and gently exhaled. Seven-colored sky, devouring python. A gourmet city in the hidden dragon continent has such an ancient divine beast? Yi said indifferently. The seven-colored sky, devouring python, only had one color. Thus, Yi could tell that this seven-colored sky, devouring python was just a baby at first glance. A baby spirit beast. Yi's eyes suddenly widened. The two vertical eyes on his forehead also wiggled. His mouth opened, revealing a greedy expression. A baby spirit beast. I think it's a top-notch delicacy. Yi greedily looked at Hua, who was dashing toward him. Instantly, the aura on his body diffused. Boom! Chu Changsheng, who had turned into a giant, was sent flying by Sa's palm one more time. He landed hard on the ground, making it cave in. The long street of the Valley of Gluttony instantly turned into ruins. Hua carried Xiaoya and landed by Chu Changsheng. Xiaoya's face was filled with anger and worry. After fusing with the memory crystal in her glabella, Xiaoya understood many things. Gradually, she shouldered the responsibility of the Valley of Gluttony's Valley Master. Although Chu Changsheng didn't admit that he was the Valley of Gluttony's Great Elder, in people's hearts, he was still the Great Elder. Rumble. Crushed rocks rolled down. Chu Changsheng crawled out of the rubble with blood all over his body. He panted, his giant body covered in wounds. Sa was too strong. Although Chu Changsheng had the power to resist a divine spirit realm expert, he was still too weak. Valley Master, why are you here? Go back to the Gluttony Square. When Chu Changsheng saw Xiaoya, he furrowed his brows and shouted. Although Xiaoya was the Valley Master, her cultivation base was too weak. She couldn't endure any attack. Any one of them could easily kill Xiaoya. Thus, when he saw Xiaoya, Chu Changsheng was a little angry. Not bad, not bad. This food city is worthy of being called a food city. It has a seven-colored sky devouring python in its infancy. This kind of delicacy makes people want to eat it. Yi stuck out his tongue, licking his lips. Sa and Cha did the same. Being able to eat a divine beast was simply a great benefit to them. This trip was really worth it. Not only could they get the heavenly star catcher disc, but they could also eat a seven-colored sky devouring python. Not only could they fulfill their mission and satisfy their desire for good food, but they could also increase their power. After all, a divine beast. It was a F***king tonic. I can't hold it anymore. Sa's saliva almost dripped on the ground. His giant body stomped on the ground, dashing toward Hua. Everybody's face changed as they felt a terrifying aura brushing their faces. Sa's aura seemed to crush the void. His big hand swung, grabbing Hua. Xiaoya fell on the ground. Hua's triflower snake eyes had a brutal gleam. These fellows wanted to eat her? Unforgivable. Even if Bufang saw her, he didn't want to eat her. And these three fellows dared to treat her like food. Hua was enraged. Her snake tail swept as if it could sweep away 1,000 soldiers. The air exploded in just a blink of an eye. Boom! The snake tail and Mo Sa's palm collided. The frightening strength contained in the snake tail caused Mo Sa to be unable to block it. He was sent flying in an instant and miserably landed on the ground a distance away. He even rolled a few times. The scales on Hua's body slightly expanded. A moment later, energy gushed out. The snake tail swung again, and space cracked. Rumble, rumble. Mo Sa rolled on the ground. He didn't dare to let the snake tail hit him again. Otherwise, his body would be smashed. Although this 7-colored sky-devouring python was just a child, its fighting competence was strangely intimidating. Mo Cha, you take the heavenly star catcher disc first. I'll deal with this 7-colored sky-devouring python. Mo Cha held his trident, excitedly preparing to attack. However, Mo Yi stopped him. Mo Yi looked at Hua excitedly. This time, he wanted to do it himself. Of course, the heavenly star catcher disc was also important. Thus, he sent Mo Cha. With Mo Cha's power, it shouldn't be hard for him to take the heavenly star catcher disc. Those ants couldn't stop him. The heavenly secret saintess's eyes were so deep. Her face was covered by a veil, so people couldn't see her face. However, they could feel her anger. Mo Yi had lured Hua away. Mo Sa crawled up from the ground. He was a little angry, rubbing the metal ring on his horn. Roaring, his eyes turned to Chu Changsheng and the others, attacking one more time. Rumble, rumble, rumble. He sprinted crazily, locking Chu Changsheng's figure. Raising his fists, he started a fight with Chu Changsheng. Chu Changsheng wasn't Mo Sa's equal opponent. He was pushed back, continuously coughing blood. Chu Changsheng's chest bloomed with radiance. Wisps of vitality flowed out and healed his wounds. Mo Cha held his trident. The black wings on his back flashed as he flew towards the heavenly secret saintess. Mo Liuji didn't have the strength to fight anymore. He slumped on the ground, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He looked at the sky in a daze. The heavenly secret saintess's white dress fluttered. In the next moment, a radiance bloomed between her brows. She raised her slender, fair hand, and a spinning metal star compass appeared in her palm. Don't you want the heavenly star catcher disc? If you have the ability, come and take it. The heavenly secret saintess said coldly. Then, her mental force poured into the heavenly star catcher disc. Instantly, the heavenly star catcher disc had thousands of mechanisms and changes. A moment later, the heavenly star catcher disc floated up, and with a boom, it released a terrifying energy that covered the entire sky. A rotating star formation enveloped everything. A starlight beam shot down, covering the heavenly secret saintess's body, making her even more ethereal. Her eyes seemed to have tens of thousands of stars moving. Then her elegant hand rose, dancing on the heavenly star catcher disc. A beam of starlight sprinkled from the heavenly star catcher disc, covering Chu Changsheng. Chu Changsheng's entire body shook, and his face changed. Roar! Chu Changsheng's silver hair fluttered in the wind. His aura was rising. Unexpectedly, his realm had increased by one whole realm. Boom! Facing Mo Sa's fist, Chu Changsheng punched again. Chu Changsheng also sent out a punch. Their fists collided in the void, creating a sound that made people's hearts shiver. Crack! The bones in their fists seemed to shatter at this moment. Mo Sa took one step back, and Chu Changsheng took 3 steps back, feeling the starlight shrouding his body and increasing his realm. Chu Changsheng's eyes were filled with surprise and excitement. He glanced at the heavenly secret saintess in the distance, admiring her in his heart, worthy of being the heavenly secret holy land. Roaring angrily, Chu Changsheng fearlessly fought against Mo Sa one more time. Xiaoyu stealthily supported Mo Liuji, who was staggering. Slowly, she took him away. Shortly, they reached Bufang's restaurant. Xiaoyu anxiously knocked on the door, and the closed door opened. Squeak. Xiaoyu was a little bewildered. She lifted her head and saw a chubby iron puppet. Chapter 829. Xiaoyu lifted her head, looking at the chubby iron puppet in front of her. Her eyes couldn't help but brighten up. She knew that Honorbu wasn't home, but she still had a glimmer of hope to try. What if Honorbu came back? It turned out that Honorbu hadn't come back yet. However, the one who opened the door was Xiao Bai, who had been waiting for a long time. Honorbu had said that Xiao Bai was evolving. Had Xiao Bai finished evolving? Looking at the chubby and somewhat cute Xiao Bai, Xiaoyu exhaled in relief. With a ripping sound, a jet of gold light zoomed out of the restaurant. Shortly, it hovered above Xiao Bai's round head. This jet of gold light was none other than Xiaopi. Xiaopi's body seemed to have grown a little bigger, and the gold light on his body became thicker. His eyes rolled, hovering above Xiao Bai's head as he stared at Xiaoyu and Mo Liuji. White Yi's eyes turned white, and there were some black dots in the white. The dots seemed to have increased in number compared to before. Glancing at Xiaoyu, Xiao Bai looked at Mo Liuji, who was looking at the starry sky like a dead dog. Eventually, Xiao Bai extended his palm leaf-shaped palm, picking up Mo Liuji, and threw him into the restaurant. After everything was done, Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes moved, looking at the distance. There, Chu Changshen was fighting desperately against Mo Sa. With the support of the heavenly star catcher disc, Chu Changshen's fighting competence had increased a lot. Although his body hadn't become much bigger when he fought against Mo Sa, he wasn't crushed like before. Starlight sprinkled down continuously, falling around the heavenly secret saintess body, making her look like a celestial being. Her mental energy surged, flowing around the entire heavenly star catcher disc. Above the heavenly star catcher disc, the formation constantly condensed, emitting a strange light. Of course, the heavenly secret saintess couldn't fully control the heavenly star catcher disc, but she could still use some of its functions. As a treasure of the heavenly secret holy land, the heavenly star catcher disc could not only calculate the future of the world, but it also had a supporting function, which was to increase the strength of allies. Under the illumination of the heavenly star catcher disc, Chu Changsheng's cultivation base increased by 1 realm. This realm allowed Chu Changsheng to fight against Mo Sa. The two giants were fighting fiercely, and their battle was in full swing. Furious roars rang out continuously. Mo Cha held the trident. He wanted to attack the heavenly secret saintess because he wanted to take the heavenly star catcher disc. As long as he got the heavenly star catcher disc, the experts of the ruined prison could deceive the great path in the Battle of Heaven Pass. They could attack directly and take the hidden dragon continent. The trident glowed brightly as it thrust forward. Space seemed as if it was about to collapse under this stab. It was extremely terrifying. Starlight flickered, showering down beams of light that shrouded the heavenly secret saintess and turned into a shield that blocked Mo Cha's attack. His attack had failed. Mo Cha's eyes slightly shrank. Worthy of the heavenly star catcher disc. This woman is so weak, but she can still use such power. Mo Cha's aura increased one more time. He swung the trident one more time. This time, thick nether energy twirled around the trident. Boom! This attack hit the starlight shield. The starlight curtain rippled like a ripple, as if it was about to shatter at any moment. The heavenly secret saintess was having a hard time resisting. The heavenly secret saintess face paled. Boom! Far from them, Mo Sa grabbed Chu Changsheng's head and pressed it hard on the ground. The ground cracked instantly, sending rocks everywhere. Weak chicken. Too weak. Boom! Boom! Mo Sa punched Chu Changsheng again and again. His millstone-like fists pounded on Chu Changsheng's body, making him groan in pain. The heavenly star catcher disc support can't save you. You're too weak. Mo Sa grinned, laughing crazily. Chu Changsheng's heart raced. His blood gushed, moving to every part of his body. Chu Changsheng's eyes looked like they were about to burn. With a sweep of his leg, he kicked Mo Sa's head. Mo Sa's huge body was kicked to the side. Chu Changxing jumped up from the ground, punching Mo Sa's head. One punch to the left, then another. This barbaric and brutal way of fighting caused many people to feel fearful. Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes were indifferent. They continued to move, watching the battle on the other side. There, Hua had turned into a giant, seven-colored sky-devouring python, fighting against Mo Yi. Mo Yi's cultivation base was unfathomable. Hua had a hard time fighting against him. Every time Mo Yi's attack landed, Flowery's body would explode. His spirit scales would explode, and his blood would splash everywhere. Mo Yi waved his hand, congregating into a ball of blood and shoving it into his mouth. The excitement on Mo Yi's face became more intense. "It's really delicious." Mo Yi sighed. Then he disappeared. When he reappeared, he was above the seven-colored sky devouring Python's head. His foot stomped on Hua's head. Hua's giant body fell on the ground. This was a completely one-sided massacre. Xiao Bai's eyes flashed. A moment later, he strode away with mechanical steps. Although he had been sleeping for a while, Xiao Bai recognized Chu Changsheng, the waiter in the restaurant. Xiao Bai could also sense the aura of the small snake that stayed by Lord Go every day. They were the restaurant's workers. Although Bu Fong wasn't here, because of Bu Fong's absence, Xiao Bai's protection range had expanded. After swallowing so many god-slaying weapons, Xiao Bai had evolved one more time. As he strode forward, Xiao Bai's body clanged. Ferocious beams emerged. The metal wings on his back opened, crossing the vast sky. Mo Cha wore a crazed face. His skin had turned scarlet, and he was in his fighting mode. He held the trident, swinging it unceasingly. The energy bombarded the heavenly star catcher disk formation, which seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. The heavenly secret saintess paled. Her true energy continued to scatter, and her mental force was urged unceasingly. Once the formation broke, her true energy wouldn't be enough, and her mind would collapse. At that time, she wouldn't be able to stop them from destroying the heavenly star catcher disk. "Let's see how long you can endure." Mo Cha grinned, revealing his fangs. His entire body became more ferocious. The arm holding the trident bulged. He swung it, and the trident broke the void. He had seen that the heavenly secret saintess was like an arrow at the end of its flight. He believed that this strike could break the starlight defense and nail that woman to death. All of a sudden, his eyes shrank. The wind howled in his ears. Instinctively, he turned around and saw a burning red iron stick. Boom! The iron rod directly pounded on his head. Mo Cha howled miserably as he was smashed down from the sky. He was like a cannonball, smashing on the ground. The ground trembled and cracked. Xiao Bai stood in front of the heavenly secret saintess. His fan-like palm rose, grabbing the trident. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Green smoke seemed to rise from where Xiao Bai had grabbed the trident. Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes twinkled. The heavenly secret saintess staggered. She looked at Xiao Bai, a little surprised. Xiao Bai swung the trident in his hand. The trident was thrown aside like a broken piece of trash. Swish! The trident on the ground flew away. Mo Cha stormed out of the ruin, grabbing the trident. His eyes were filled with rage. "Damn it! You dare to ambush me!" Xiao Bai also grabbed the war god stick. The spikes on his body made him look ferocious. His mechanical eyes indifferently looked at Mo Cha in the sky. "An iron puppet? You can't eat trash. What's the use?" Mo Cha roared. Black lines emerged on his scarlet body. 2 hideous demonic marks covered his body, causing his aura to surge even more violently. From a distance, Mo Sa, who hadn't captured Chu Changxing yet, was a little angry. His fists pounded on his chest. His terrifying aura expanded as he opened his mouth to roar. 2 pitch-black demonic runes gradually appeared and climbed onto his body, causing him to look extremely sinister. After the demon marks appeared, Mo Sa and Mo Cha's aura skyrocketed, becoming extremely terrifying. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, making the atmosphere even more oppressive. The heavenly ethereal realm netherworld creatures were like the divine spirit realm experts in the hidden dragon continent. Mo-Sa and Mo-Cha had two marks at the heavenly ethereal realm. They were like the divine spirit realm experts with two divine flames. This kind of cultivation base was enough to crush the entire Valley of Gluttony. Although Xiao Bai had completed his evolution, he was just in existence at the divine spirit realm with one divine flame. The situation seemed to change in just a blink of an eye. In the Gluttony Square, all the experts of the Valley of Gluttony were shivering in fear. The dark clouds in the sky made them shiver in fear. The terrifying pressure that pervaded the air made them feel even more despair. An existence at the divine spirit realm was a legend in their eyes. And now, there were three of them attacking the Valley of Gluttony. How could the Valley of Gluttony be that miserable? Xiao Bai held the war god stick. The metal wings on his back flapped. A moment later, his body soared up into the sky, fighting against Mo-Cha. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The heavenly secret saintess hair fluttered. Although her face was pale and her spirit was exhausted, she still controlled the heavenly star catcher disc. Starlight shrouded Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai's fighting capacity had increased to another realm. He was equally matched with Mo-Cha now. The war god stick and the trident hit each other, sending sparks everywhere. Mo-Cha's black wings flapped, stirring up strong gusts of wind. Xiao Bai's metal wings flapped, tearing the air. Their battle was equally matched, so it was really fierce. All of a sudden, Xiaopi, who had been coiling on Xiao Bai's head, roared and roared. He turned into a jet of gold light, aiming at Mo-Cha. Ruthlessly, he hit Mo-Cha's chest. Mo-Cha was forced to take several steps back. In the sky, Xiaopi's body enlarged, turning into a giant gold shrimpy. Xiao Bai held the war god stick, standing on the gold shrimpy with an imposing aura. Beams of gold light floated, and Xiao Bai's fighting capacity increased one more time. Buzz, his fan-like palm moved, and the war god's stick roared and roared. The stick pounded. Mo-Cha wielded his trident, trying to resist. One strike. Mo-Cha's trident was smashed away. Mo-Cha was hit by thousands of stick shadows, falling to the ground like a cannonball. Xiao Bai's eyes twinkled. He didn't spare anyone. The war god's stick soared into the sky. A moment later, it became so massive, pressing down from the sky. Mo-Cha, who had just crawled out of the rubble on the ground, looked at the war god's stick that was getting bigger and bigger in his eyes. His entire body shivered. What the F *CK is this thing that can grow and shrink? Chapter 830. The war god's stick became bigger and thicker, and the iron-like lines on it became clearer. From the sky, the war god's stick fiercely pounded. Mo-Cha's eyes shrank as he stood underneath the stick. The nether energy in his body surged as he tried to escape the war god stick's attack. The war god stick had become bigger and more powerful. If he got hit, Mo-Cha thought he would have a tragic ending. He wanted to dodge. His aura tore the war god stick seal. He wanted to escape, but he was too late. A loud explosion resounded. The war god stick fiercely pounded on the ground, causing the ground to tremble. Cracks spread everywhere. Since Mo-Cha couldn't dodge in time, half of his body was grazed by the war god stick. His physical body wasn't as strong as Mo-Sa's. After being smashed like that, his body immediately cracked. His black feathers fluttered in the sky. Black blood splashed, accompanied by Mo-Cha's pitiful screeching. Xiao Bai stepped on Shrimpy. In just a blink of an eye, he broke the sky and appeared by Mo-Cha. The war god stick shrunk, and Xiao Bai held it in his hand. The war god stick was spotless. It didn't have a speck of dust, blood, or impurities. Half of Mo-Cha's body was smashed. He looked so pitiful, his eyes ferocious. "You damned lump of iron. I'm going to smash you." Mo-Cha roared. His hand moved, and the trident flew into his hand. However, before the trident could reach his hand, it was sent away by Xiao Bai's stick, falling on the ground far from him. Mo Cha's body shivered as he felt a little scared. Standing on Shrimpy, Xiaobai became incomparably quiet. His body emitted a cold, murderous aura. That murderous aura made Mo Cha shiver. Yu Xiaobai's eyes flashed. The war god's stick suddenly lengthened, fiercely hitting Mo Cha's body. Mo Cha was blown away. Black blood gushed out from his mouth. Since Xiao Bai's war god stick was condensed after swallowing the god-slaying weapons, it had a strong suppressive effect on the netherworld creatures. If it weren't for the war god stick, Mo Cha's body wouldn't have been destroyed that easily. In the distance, Chu Changxing's entire body looked like it was about to burn. Terrifying energy gushed out from him. Chu Changxing's anger surged. Every time he punched, Mo Sa would take several steps back. Mo Sa's face had two wrinkles as he roared angrily. The two of them collided, and it was still a brutal battle of fists hitting flesh. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere, and the ground cracked and crumbled. Chu Changxing's heart glowed even more fiercely, as if it wanted to burn the entire darkness. Although his body was much smaller than Mo Sa's. However, it didn't stop Chu Changxing from using his strength to suppress others. He leaped high into the air, clenched his fists, and slammed them down. Mo Sa raised his hand to resist, but Chu Changxing had pounded him to the ground. The ground instantly crumbled. Boom! Mo Sa's big hand rose from the ground, grabbing Chu Changxing's head. Mo Sa's head with two sharp horns aimed at Chu Changxing's head. It was an extremely brutal way of fighting. Chu Changxing grabbed the two horns with both hands and stomped on Mo Sa's head repeatedly. Mo Sa was in pain, and his eyes turned red. Eventually, Chu Changxing's body had a flame burning. That flame surged, turning into a phantom of a giant spirit beast around Chu Changxing. That phantom opened its mouth and roared, scaring Mo Sa. Chu Changxing seized the chance to punch Mo Sa's head, pounding him to the ground. Chu Changxing roared. His silver hair fanned in all directions. The aura on his body climbed. His 9-step soul ladder and his divine altar emerged, pressing down on the sky. The flame on his body burned and congregated. Shortly after, it became a wisp of spirit flame. That flame spiraled, swaying. Chu Changxing guided it toward the divine altar. As long as he could ignite the divine altar and the divine flame, Chu Changxing's cultivation base would increase to a terrifying level. At that time, it will be enough to crush Mo Sa. Relying on the essence of the Tao He's heart, Chu Changxing's cultivation base continued to rise. The flame around him burned, turning into a spirit beast that looked like a Tao Tai. However, the spirit flame above his head was burning quietly, as if it could be extinguished at any minute. Mo Sa crawled up from the ground. Pitch-black blood flowed from his mouth. Ignite the divine flame? You want to ignite the divine flame in front of me? Mo Sa's eyes widened. A moment later, he pounded his fists on the ground, his body soaring. In just a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Chu Changxing. Swoosh! A burning red iron stick flew over, directly knocking Mo Sa away. Mo Sa landed, grabbing the war god stick with both hands. He roared and swung it, sending the war god stick flying. Roar! A gold light flashed. Xiaobai stepped on Shrimpy's gold body, catching the war god stick. Chu Changxing was still evolving. At this moment, Xiaobai had to face two demons at the same time. Relying on the support of the heavenly secret Holy Stars Catcher Disc and the gold Shrimpy, Xiaobai's fighting capacity had become extremely formidable. Mo Cha's miserable state showed that. When Mo Sa saw Mo Cha, he was startled. It was the first time he had seen Mo Cha in such a miserable state. Together, kill that iron lump. Mo Cha roared. His body leaped up, landing on Mo Sa's shoulder. A moment later, the two demons attacked at the same time. Xiaobai held the war god's stick, dashing forward. The two sides fought fiercely. Explosions echoed unceasingly. Chu Changxing's spirit flame was burning, slowly moving toward the divine altar. There seemed to be a mysterious formation flickering above the divine altar. It rapidly gathered and quickly covered the entire divine altar. A suction force pulled Chu Changxing's spirit flame toward the divine altar. Shortly after, the spirit flame fell on the divine altar. Boom! A moment later, the divinity burst out. Chu Changxing's eyes opened. He opened his mouth, roaring. His aura soared. In just a blink of an eye, he had broken through the shackles on his body. His originally 3-meter-tall figure grew even taller, becoming more than 6 meters tall. He truly looked like a giant. His appearance became more ferocious. Since the Tao Ye's divinity and the Tao Ye's heart had been destroyed by Bu Fong, Chu Changsheng had received the power of the Tao Ye's heart, which made his body even more peerless. Boom! After the breakthrough, the divine flame burned and the divine altar glowed. The 9-step soul ladder disappeared, turning into energy to ignite the divine flame. At this moment, Chu Changxing's fighting capacity skyrocketed. His eyes turned to Mo Sa, who was fighting against Xiao Bai in the distance. His figure broke through the air, grabbing Mo Sa's head and pressing him to the ground. Boom! The ground cracked. Mo Sa was pressed under Chu Changxing's body. Chu Changxing's giant fists were constantly swinging, each punch landing on his body. Mo Sa wanted to struggle, but he found that Chu Changxing had become so strong that he couldn't resist. His fists pounded, and Mo Sa's head was directly smashed. The metal rings were blown away, and the horns were broken. In the Gluttony Square, the people from the Valley of Gluttony couldn't help but shiver when they saw Chu Changxing in such a violent state. The Great Elder, how could he become such a giant beast in human form? Too terrifying, too violent. Boom! Chu Changxing's fist pounded. Finally, Mo Sa's head was smashed. Mo Sa's head was smashed, but he still sent Chu Changxing flying. The headless head wobbled as it got up from the ground. The muscles on its body bulged as it dashed toward Chu Changxing. Chu Changxing's silver hair was like ferocious steel needles, stabbing into the void as if it wanted to break it. He took a deep breath, raising his fist. Tens of thousands of strands of true energy gathered on his fist, turning into the head of a Tao Tai. It roared crazily, as if it wanted to shatter the mountains and rivers. Tao Tai punch. A punch shot out, and the endless fist shadows turned into a Tao Tai, roaring and pouncing. The void shattered in just a blink of an eye, and the air turned into a hole. Mo Sa's body was completely blown apart by this punch. From a distance, Xiao Bai swept the war god stick. Mo Cha's eyes shrank. Half of his body was blown off. The two powerful demons were killed at this moment. The bodies of the two demons exploded, turning into nether aura that filled the sky and dissipated into the air. Chu Changxing's 6-meter-tall body was filled with bulging muscles. He opened his mouth, gasping for air. Xiao Bai held the war god stick, standing on the back of the gold shrimpy. The metal wings on his back opened, and the clanging sounds echoed unceasingly. Boom! A loud explosion echoed. The 7-colored sky devouring python's massive body fell to the ground, riddled with wounds. The golden scales on his body shattered and exploded, revealing many wounds. A buzzing sound echoed. The 7-colored sky devouring python turned into Hua, crying loudly. With blood all over his body, he ran toward Xiaoya. A divine beast like the 7-colored sky devouring python was beaten until it cried. Hua ran away. He ran directly to the Tao Tai restaurant, found the path understanding tree, and hugged it, continuing to cry. Mo Yi didn't chase after him. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Mo Sa and Mo Cha were killed. Boom! 2 wisps of black smoke twirled above Mo Sa and Mo Cha's bodies. They were Mo Sa's and Mo Cha's divine souls. The 2 divine souls ran toward Mo Yi with indignation and reluctance. If their remnant souls could be saved, they would have a chance to revive. After all, at the heavenly ethereal realm, it wasn't hard to revive with a divine soul. However, shortly after, Mo Sa and Mo Cha's remnant souls looked frightened. That was because Mo Yi was standing proudly in the sky. The two vertical eyes on his forehead were open. One of the vertical eyes was so black that it looked like a bottomless pit. A suction force burst out. Mo Sa and Mo Cha's remnant souls were sucked into that vertical eye with reluctance and fear. You killed Mo Sa and Mo Cha. You ants, you're really beyond my estimation. The two vertical eyes on Mo Ye's forehead rolled around. One of the vertical eyes had rings of light revolving around it, while the other was pitch black like ink, giving off a profound feeling. All of a sudden, Mo Yi turned his head. A stream of black energy shot out from the pitch-black vertical eye. It was too fast. Chu Changsheng couldn't react in time. Xiao Bai reacted, but he could only swing the war god stick. The stick was sent away. That jet of black energy didn't slow down at all. It shot toward the heavenly secret Sanus. Boom! After a clear explosion, the heavenly secret Sanus paled. Her white veil was dyed red by a mouthful of blood. The protective starlight of the heavenly star catcher disk was smashed. The star energy supporting Chu Changsheng and Xiao Bai disappeared instantly. Without the support of the heavenly star catcher disk, what can you do? In the void, Mo Yi grinned, smiling coldly. Nether energy filled the sky. Chapter 831. The vertical eye on Mo Ye's forehead shot out a black beam of light. It was beyond people's estimation, and the power of that beam of light had frightened everybody. Xiao Bai reacted, but the war god stick was sent away by that beam of light, falling in the distance. The heavenly secret Sanus had used the heavenly star catcher disk to create a starlight shield. However, it couldn't endure that attack. It shattered instantly, turning into starlight, scattering everywhere. The heavenly secret Sanus face paled in just a blink of an eye. Blood spurted from her mouth, dyeing her veil red. She couldn't control the heavenly star catcher disk perfectly. Now that she had received such a heavy attack and the backfire of the heavenly star catcher disk, her aura became feeble. The Valley of Gluttony's people, who thought that they were going to win, kept silent at this moment. They didn't know what to say. Some people didn't even have time to cheer, but their cheers were stuck in their throats. They gawked, their faces embarrassed and frightened. After Mo Yi had swallowed Mo Sa and Mo Cha's god souls, his aura had become more real and terrifying. The sky-high black clouds hovered above his head, bringing with them a terrifying pressure. There were even some people who felt suffocated by the pressure. Mo Yi clasped his hands. The corners of his mouth curled, and the vertical eye on his forehead opened. One of his eyes was as black as ink, like a bottomless black hole with great power. In the other eye, a white halo spread out, causing one's mind to sink involuntarily into it. It was also extremely terrifying. This demon was much stronger than Mo Cha and Mo Sa. Even the seven-colored sky-devouring python was beaten until it cried. It was enough to show how strong this demon was. Without the support of the heavenly star catcher disk, Chu Changsheng and Xiao Bai's aura dropped rapidly. They had dropped by one realm. The heavenly star catcher disk's benefits were shown here. It could increase one realm's cultivation base. Only the people who had experienced it would know how terrifying and mysterious it was. Chu Changsheng's muscles bulged. His silver hair was like a long silver sword, piercing through the void. Roar! The heavenly secret Sanus got hurt in just a blink of an eye. Chu Changsheng roared. Facing the last Mo Yi, Chu Changsheng's muscles were shivering. Fight! Chu Changsheng bellowed angrily. His fists pounded the ground, shattering it. His 6-meter-tall body soared into the sky. A terrifying and oppressive aura burst out from Chu Changsheng's body. In a desperate situation, he ignited his divine flame and stepped into the extraordinary divine spirit realm. Chu Changsheng felt that he had become much stronger. The energy in the Taoye's heart would not increase in a short period of time. It was because Chu Changsheng's body had reached its limit. Mo Yi floated in the void, his face indifferent. He looked calm and collected. Even though he was facing Chu Changsheng, who had beaten Nemo saw to death, he wasn't worried at all. Facing Chu Changsheng, who was like a ferocious beast, Mo Yi slowly raised his arm. On his arm, pitch-black veins suddenly appeared, densely covering his entire arm. In the next moment, thousands of streams of energy flowed and rapidly gathered on his arm. Chu Changsheng roared. He clenched his fists and pounded them down from the sky. The roaring sound waves shattered the air. However, boom, after a loud explosion, Chu Changsheng's attack didn't even land a tiny bit. Black energy emerged around Mo Ye's body. That energy automatically gathered at the spot where Chu Changsheng's attack had landed, blocking it. Without the support of the heavenly star catcher disc, is that all you have left? Mo Yi said indifferently. Chu Changsheng's eyes shrank. He opened his mouth and roared. True energy surged from his body as he punched again. Boom! The black energy stopped it again, and it couldn't move forward. Chu Changsheng was so enraged that he went crazy. He continuously punched, trying to break the defense and smash Mo Yi to death. However, he failed. No matter how many times he punched, the defense didn't budge. Too weak. Weak chicken. Mo Yi lifted his head, looking at Chu Changsheng's giant body. He shook his head and gently exhaled. A moment later, he raised his hand, and black nether energy gathered, bursting out. Boom! The nether energy gushed out, pounding on Chu Changsheng's body. Chu Changsheng's eyes shrank. He couldn't control his body as he was blown away, hovering in the air. Mo Yi's hovering body flashed. A moment later, he disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind Chu Changsheng. He raised his leg and flung it down. Chu Changsheng's blood splashed in the air. Mo Yi's leg was like a sharp knife, tearing Chu Changsheng's tough muscles. Blood splashed. His entire body was pounded on the ground. The ruined ground caved in one more time. Everybody took in a breath of cold air. It was an instant kill. Mo Yi indifferently hovered in the air, his long robe fluttering. He hovered in the sky above Chu Changsheng's fallen body. A black ball of energy gathered in his palm. A moment later, he threw it. That energy ball directly fell, falling on the ruins where Chu Changsheng had fallen and exploding with a loud rumble. Terrifying air waves rolled, and the pressure it contained seemed like it wanted to level the entire valley of Gluttony's long street. Many houses in the vicinity were smashed. Of course, except for Bu Fong's Taotai restaurant, which was still intact. Inside the restaurant, Hua was covered in blood, hugging the path-understanding tree and crying. Tears and snot rolled down his face. He was so sad and aggrieved. Now it's your turn. After dealing with Chu Changsheng, Mo Yi indifferently lifted his head. The wind blew, fluttering his hair. People could see a small horn hidden in his hair. Xiaobai stepped on Shrimpy. His mechanical eyes didn't have any emotion. A suction force came from his fan-like palm, and the war god stick whistled and returned to his hand. He grabbed it, and the metal wings on his back opened with a clanging sound. But as the metal wings flapped fiercely, a moment later, Xiaobai stepped on Shrimpy's back. Like a beam of light, he dashed away. Even the air was squeaking from the pressure. The war god stick spun, releasing a terrifying aura. The stick aimed at Mo Yi. Mo Yi pondered, clasping his hands. Indifferently, he looked at Xiaobai's attack. An iron puppet. Interesting. Boom. All of a sudden, Mo Yi's eyes shrank. He found that the black energy in front of him was smashed by the war god stick. The war god stick's aura didn't diminish. Boom! Mo Yi raised his hand, directly grabbing the war god stick. From movement to stillness, everything became still. The three of them halted in the air. People couldn't help but hold their breaths. Xiaobai was the iron puppet in Ownerbu's restaurant. Many people in the Valley of Gluttony knew him. Many of them had watched Xiaobai grow up. When Xiaobai had just arrived in the Valley of Gluttony, his fighting capacity hadn't been that strong. However, today, Xiaobai had surpassed many people's understanding. Many people were curious. Every time Xiaobai swallowed the god-slaying weapons of the experts from the Holy Lands, his fighting capacity would increase. Could it be that owner Bu had raised an iron puppet that specialized in going against the Holy Lands? Did he want to eat the entire Holy Lands? As the war god stick was grabbed, it couldn't move forward. Black light dots moved in Xiao Bai's eyes. A moment later, the war god stick shook, spinning. The war god stick got rid of Mo Ye's hand. Xiao Bai patted it again, whistling and aiming at Mo Ye's chest. Mo Ye's body glided across the void, and the war god's stick also zoomed past him. The two of them seemed to become still. All of a sudden, Mo Ye raised his hand. A finger with sharp nails touched the war god's stick. The war god's stick was sent flying. Boom! Xiao Bai stepped on Mantis Shrimp. The metal wings on his back covered the sky. He grabbed the war god's stick that was flying backward. He turned 360 degrees, wielding the war god's stick again. Swoosh! Swoosh! Even a void was blasted open, leaving a hole. However, Mo Ye's figure disappeared from his spot. In just a blink of an eye, 3 Mo Ye appeared in the void. Boom! 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 The 3 Mo Ye took action at the same time. Their speed was so fast that Xiao Bai couldn't react. Xiao Bai was blown away from the void. The wings on his back flapped, and he landed hard, crushing the crushed rocks into ruins. Boom! 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 Retracting his metal wings, Xiao Bai held the war god's stick, running crazily in the ruins. In the sky, Mo Ye's vertical eye continuously shot out black energy beams. Those beams bombarded the ground. They wanted to kill Xiao Bai, who was running crazily on the ground. Xiao Bai rolled his eyes in the void. A moment later, his body shrank, turning into a narrow shape. Like a golden shuttle, he tore the void in just a blink of an eye. There was a tearing sound. Mo Ye's eyes shrank. The bombardment suddenly came to a halt. Xiao Bai stuck the war god's stick on the ground. His body halted, and he lifted his head to look at the void. There, Mo Ye's clone scattered, returning to his original body. However, his eyes widened in disbelief. Mo Ye raised his hand and touched his face. There was a cut there, and with a sizzling sound, black blood slowly flowed out. You hurt me? Mo Ye looked at the black blood on his palm, mumbling. Then, he lifted his head, looking at Xiao Bai, who was hovering in the void like a golden shuttle. You're courting death. Mo Ye was enraged. His murderous aura burst out. He was enraged, and the terrifying power contained in his body was released at this moment. The 2 eyes between his brows shot out black and white lights. Boom! 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 Beams of light shot out at high speed. In just a blink of an eye, they were aimed at Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai was startled. He turned into a jet of gold light and disappeared at his spot. Its speed was too fast. Everyone could only see a golden light shuttling back and forth in the void. Mo Ye's energy attack had actually missed. None of the energy beams bombarded Shrimpy's body. The beams of light that missed their target hit the ground, almost turning it upside down. The ground, which was already crumbling, crumbled again. Xiao Bai, holding the war god's stick, took a step forward, standing in front of the weakened heavenly secret saintess. He gripped the war god's stick with both hands, making it spin like a giant windmill. Terrifying energy roared and howled. Boom! 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 Mo Ye's attacks were deflected by Xiao Bai's war god's stick. However, none of them hit him. Xiao Bai was forced to back off. There was a loud explosion. In the void, the black nether energy suddenly dissipated. Mo Ye flashed in the void as if he had teleported. A moment later, his hand grabbed Xiao Bai, who was moving through the void. Shrimpy was caught, and its compound eyes widened as it spat out bubbles from its mouth. It had an innocent face. A shrimp dares to hurt me. Mo Ye coldly looked at the shrimp, who was trying to act cute. The wound on his face had healed, but his anger couldn't subside. His hand squeezed as if he wanted to squeeze Xiao Bai to death. All of a sudden, his mind flickered. Not only him, but everybody else was startled. Not far from the restaurant, white specks of light that came out of nowhere condensed and floated in the air. They began to rapidly converge into a mysterious array formation. A howling gale arose. In the next moment, for figures slowly appeared from within the wild winds that filled the air. Chapter 832. Emoye's movements paused. He squinted, looking at a place not far from the restaurant. Everyone's gaze seemed to be attracted by that spot. The white specks of light that had suddenly condensed gathered in the void on their own, forming a mysterious array. The magic array spun, releasing a mysterious aura. Strong gusts of wind howled, turning into a long dragon, blowing away the crushed stones on the ground. Amidst the strong wind, 4 figures slowly walked out of it. The wind dispersed. Those 4 figures gradually became clearer. Bufang's hair wasn't tied up with a velvet rope, so it naturally fell down, fluttering in the wind. Yu's body was upright, and her long, straight black hair reached her waist. When her slender legs swayed, it was mesmerizing. Her face was breathtaking, almost suffocating. The last person wasn't so serious. This person was handsome and dashing. He had a flawless face, and his skin was as smooth as a woman's. However, this person had a spicy strip dangling from his mouth. His nostrils were slightly dilated, and an expression of enjoyment could be seen on his face. It wasn't anyone else. It was Hades' Era, the spicy strip lover. As for Lord Go, as soon as he landed, he opened his mouth wide and yawned. Then he slowly walked with his cat-like steps, wiggling his butt as he walked into the restaurant. This trip had exhausted Lord Go. Right now, Lord Dog just wanted to lie down and have a good sleep. Of course, it would be best if he could eat a plate of sweet and sour ribs first. Lord Go was really fast. His short legs didn't look long, and his cat-like steps were slow. However, his speed was really fast. In just a blink of an eye, he entered the restaurant. However, as soon as he entered the restaurant, Lord Go was about to return to the Path Understanding tree. His drowsy eyes couldn't help but open. That was because Lord Go found that his spot under the Path Understanding tree had been occupied. That little girl Hua was covered in blood as she hugged the Path Understanding tree. She was bawling her eyes out with snot and tears running down her face. She looked extremely sad. Lord Go was stunned. What happened? Naturally, he was very familiar with Hua. This young 7-colored sky-devouring python girl would come to his side every day to cultivate. Sometimes, Lord Go was used to the existence of this little girl, so he didn't have any temper towards her. Even if this lass sometimes pulled his fur out of boredom, the Lord Go would only twitch his nose. To think that this lass would end up in such a wretched state right now. Not only was her entire body covered in blood, she was even hugging onto the Tao Understanding tree and bawling her eyes out. Just how much grievance did she have to endure? Lord Go strode like a cat and trotted to the side of the Path Understanding tree, looking at the little girl. The little girl seemed to have sensed Lord Go's aura and stopped crying. She opened her tri-flower snake eyes and looked at Lord Go. She pouted and tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. She looked extremely miserable and pitiful. Hua's lips parted and trembled. Then, she started bawling her eyes out again. She, the 7-colored sky-devouring python, had never suffered such grievances. That person actually beat her up so badly that her scales were almost all gone. Feeling wronged, Hua wanted to cry. She cried in all sorts of positions. When she saw Lord Go, she wanted to cry even more. With a loud cry, she pounced over and hugged Lord Go's leg, continuing to cry. A dumbfounded look appeared on Lord Dog's face. After understanding the situation for a while, Lord Go's mouth twitched involuntarily. He was also a little speechless. This lass was still a child. The 7-colored sky-devouring python was really like a child in its infancy. Lord Go's ears twitched. His nose twitched as he snorted. However, since that person dared to beat the little girl until she cried, if Lord Go didn't beat the culprit until he cried too, he would feel sorry for the little girl. Lord Go's exquisite paw patted Hua's head. A moment later, he twisted his dog, but, walking out of the restaurant like a cat, Hua stopped crying. She crawled up from the ground, wearing a tattered, blood-stained gold dress. Her buttocks trembled as she followed Lord Go. Bufong furrowed his brows as he sensed the dense pressure in the air. Everything around him had turned into ruins. It seemed the place had changed a lot since he had left. Bufong clasped his hands. He turned around and saw Xiao Bai holding the war god's stick in his god-slaying mode. Behind Xiao Bai, the heavenly secret saintess's white veil was dyed in blood. Her aura was exhausted, and a radiant star compass hovered above her head. Far from them, Chu Changsheng crawled out of the ruins, trembling. Rubble rolled down from his body. His 6-meter-tall body had shrunk. He was weak, gasping for air. His silver hair was stained with dust, covering his face. When he crawled out of the ruins and saw Bufong, he grinned. Then he lay on the ground, his chest heaving. Old Bu finally came back, and he was exhausted. Without the support of the heavenly secret saintess heavenly star catcher disc, Chu Changsheng didn't have any way to deal with the last powerful demon. He couldn't defeat it. After that demon had swallowed the divine souls of the previous 2 demons, its aura had become even more terrifying. He felt that the demon had almost broken through the 2-mark heavenly ethereal realm, reaching the 3-mark heavenly ethereal realm. It was equivalent to an existence at the divine spirit realm with 3 divine flames. That kind of existence could be considered a peak existence among sect masters. Chu Changsheng had just entered the divine spirit realm, so it was normal that he couldn't be its opponent. In the divine spirit realm, an existence with 1 to 3 divine flames was at the sect master level. Since the number of divine flames was different, the power of the sect master level was also different. At this moment, Chu Changsheng could be considered a big shot at the sect master level. Unfortunately, facing this demon, he was still too weak. 4 to 8 divine flames were the existences at the saint's sovereign level of the Holy Lands. It was extremely difficult to ignite each divine flame, as it required a massive amount of mental energy. Thus, the difference between 1 divine flame was like the difference between heaven and earth. It also showed how terrifying the heavenly star catcher disc was. It could support allies, allowing people to fight 1 realm higher than them. Mo hovered in the air. The wound on his face had healed, and the scar had disappeared. At his level, the healing speed of his wounds had surpassed the limits of ordinary people. Once one entered the divine spirit realm, he was considered extraordinary. The divine spirit realm meant that he had transcended the mortal world. The heavenly ethereal realm corresponded to the divine spirit realm. Of course, it meant that he had transcended the mortal world. Mo was holding mantis shrimp in his hand. Xiaopi was squeezed, his eyes wide open as he blew bubbles from his mouth. The more Mo looked at him, the angrier he became. He was hurt by this mantis shrimp that only knew how to act cute. It was unforgivable. He wanted to squeeze this mantis shrimp to death, but he didn't expect that something would happen. The appearance of the formation puzzled him a little. The others who walked out of the formation made him frown. However, after a moment of surprise, Moye's palm exerted more force, trying to squeeze Shrimpy to death. In the gluttony square, Great White leaned against the wall. His eyes bulged as he gritted his teeth. That damn fellow wanted to squeeze the shrimp ancestor to death. It was like a shrimp on a flat land was bullied by a trash. In the past, the shrimp ancestor was a big shot in the endless sea. Even the Black Dragon King had to show respect to him. Who would have thought that the great shrimp ancestor had become a shrimp that only knew how to act cute? Moreover, he was facing the awkward situation of being squeezed to death. Great White had tears in his eyes as he felt sorry for the shrimp ancestor. Bufong's eyes narrowed. He furrowed his brows and looked in Moye's direction. At first glance, he saw Shrimpy in Moye's palm. Shrimpy's compound eyes almost popped out of their sockets. What was that fellow doing? How could he do that to Xiaopi? Xiaopi was a kid that had followed him for a long time. Although Bufong usually used Xiaopi as a seasoning, this kid was still very important to Bufong. Of course, he wouldn't allow others to treat him that way. Thus, Bufong took a step forward, opening his mouth to shout, "Let go of that mantis shrimp." His indifferent voice reverberated in the square, lingering and echoing. Everybody was bewildered. At this moment, the atmosphere became somewhat awkward. Xiao Bai's eyes twinkled. A moment later, he pounded the war god's stick hard on the ground. Boom! The war god's stick immediately lifted the crushed stones on the ground, aiming at Mo Yi in the sky. Facing Xiao Bai's attack, Mo Yi was as calm as still water. His figure flickered, disappearing from his original spot. When he reappeared, he was already standing on top of the war god's stick. His feet gently touched the ground. The war god's stick fell on the ground one more time. Xiao Bai was shaken by the giant force, and he couldn't hold the stick anymore. "You're just like an ant. I'll deal with you later," Mo Yi said indifferently. The two vertical eyes on his glabella twinkled, emitting radiance. Nethery furrowed her brows. Nether King Erha, who was holding a spicy strip, walked in and out with great interest. "It's the Demon Eye clan of the ruined prison. How could the Demon Eye clan appear in the hidden dragon continent?" Hades Era asked curiously. He lifted his head to look at the sky. He could feel that the Great Path's principle still existed. Logically speaking, it should be impossible for someone from the Demon Eye race to appear in the mainland. No matter what, the Heaven Pass hadn't been broken yet, and the Great Path still existed. Mo Ye's eyes moved. He didn't care about Xiao Bai, but Bufang. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes when he heard the awkward words that the kid had shouted earlier. Under his demon eye, Bufang's aura was exposed. Divine Soul, Realm, One-Step Soul Ladder. "This trash. How dare you yell at me like that? Who do you think you are? I'll crush this prawn. What can you do to me?" Mo Yi sneered coldly. He had made up his mind, so he wasn't hurried at all. Not only did he want to destroy the Heavenly Star Catcher disc, but he also wanted to erase the entire gourmet city from the hidden dragon continent. Everybody here had to die. Mo Sa and Mo Cha were dead. They died in this gourmet city. Since that was the case, he wanted the entire city to be buried along with them. Mo Ye's eyes were cold. All of a sudden, he frowned, looking at Bufang. He found that Bufang didn't have a bit of fear on his face. Bufang was just an ant at the Divine Soul Realm, but he wasn't afraid of him at all. Could it be that his pressure was just for show? Mo Yi didn't know why, but a flame of anger arose in his heart. A moment later, he raised a finger. Buzz, nether energy gathered. A moment later, the nether energy shot out, aiming at Bufang. It seemed to turn into a thread. Xiao Bai suddenly stood in front of Bufang, holding the war god stick. He wielded it, fiercely clashing with the nether energy. Xiao Bai staggered several steps backward. The war god stick fumbled green smoke. "Resist? Let's see how many moves your puppet can resist." Mo Yi grinned. His fingers moved, and flows of nether energy shot out. Yu's eyes were sparkling. Hades Era sighed with a spicy strip in his mouth. "The ruined prison's people are as hot-tempered as always. Bufang, young man, give I 5 spicy strips. I will help you deal with this pretty little fellow." Hades' words made Bufang furrow his brows. Then, he turned to look at Hades, exhaling gently. "Okay." However, before Bufang could finish his words, a magnetic voice interrupted him. Lord Go strode with his graceful, enchanting cat-like steps. His fat body shook as he slowly walked out of the restaurant. Hua, who was covered in blood, followed him. "Let Lord Go come here. If he doesn't beat him until he cries, Lord Go will abstain from eating sweet and sour ribs for 3 days." Chapter 833. Let the Lord Go come, and beat him until he cries. A magnetic voice resounded in everyone's ears. Everyone was stunned, and they looked in the direction of the restaurant in astonishment. Over there, a fat dog slowly walked over with its cat-like steps. It was a black dog. The fats on its body jiggled uncontrollably as it walked. Its enchanting cat-like steps caused people's eyeballs to involuntarily widen. The dog wagged its tail, which was mesmerizing. Behind the plump dog was a cute little girl who was happily following behind it. The little girl was covered in blood, and her eyes were filled with tears. She pouted and followed the Lord Go with an indignant face. She lifted her head to look at Mo Yi, who was hovering in the air. It was this fellow who had beaten her until she cried. She didn't want to cry, as she wanted to maintain her dignity as a divine beast. However, this little girl had never suffered such grievances, so she cried. Now, the Lord Go had helped her regain her dignity. The Lord Go's words made Hades, whose face was filled with excitement, dumbfounded. What the heck? What did this mangy dog mean? When Nether King Ha came back to his senses, he was instantly unhappy. He bit down hard on the spicy strip that he had been sucking for a long time. His eyes were extremely sharp as he looked at Lord Dog. Mangy dog, what do you want to do? You're not being honest. You're trying to steal my business, don't you know? In ancient times, people would be dragged into a pig's cage and drowned in it. Do you know that? Hades wasn't happy. He put his hands on his waist and shouted at the Lord Go, who was strutting his cat-like steps. He had negotiated the price with a young bouffon, but that mangy dog had interfered. He wanted to make things difficult for him. Hades was angry, and the consequences were serious. The fat on Lord Go's body trembled. He was too lazy to pay attention to Hades' era. He just rolled his eyes at Hades' era's extreme behavior. Hades became even angrier. This mangy dog had been thinking too much recently. Not only did he steal his business, he even rolled his eyes at him. Did he, Hades' era, lose his status? Following behind Lord Go, Hua raised her hand to wipe away her snot and tears. She didn't have a good impression of Hades' era, who dared to yell at Lord Go. Xiaoyu widened her triflower snake eyes and looked at Hades' era. It was as if he wanted to use his gaze to make the latter retreat. Hades was amused by her gaze. He chewed on the chili strip in his mouth and held another chili strip in his mouth. The corners of his mouth curled up, and a look of disdain appeared on his handsome face. Bufang didn't think that Lord Go would take the initiative to speak. His eyes went past Lord Go, falling on Hua. Seeing Hua covered in blood, Bufang's face darkened. Who did this to Little Flower? Bufang was enraged. He narrowed his eyes, turning to look at Mo Yi, who was hovering in the air. Was it that guy? He hurt Chu Changsheng and Hua, and now he wanted to kill Xiaopi. This guy was courting death. Lord Go, beat him until he cries. I'll cook you sweet and sour dragon ribs, Bufang said with a cold face. Lord Go snorted, and the fat on his dog face shook. Sweet and sour dragon ribs? That's really delicious. It had been a long time since he had eaten it. He had eaten it several times in the Light Wind Empire. Although it was a low-grade lesser dragon meat, it was still dragon meat. Bufang boy, just wait for a good show, Lord Dog said, twitching the corner of his mouth. Hades' era looked at Bufang, then at Lord Go. His nostrils flared, and he wasn't happy. You mangy dog, you want to steal my business from Stop. Let's fight for 300 rounds. Hades' era was so enraged that his hair stood on end. Lord Dog glanced at the Nether King from the corner of his eyes, and a playful smile appeared on his face. You think you can beat me, Lord Go? Hades' cheerful face stiffened. He was even more enraged. In the void, Mo Yi was a little speechless as he looked at the man and the dog. The flame of anger in his body was rising. What were they doing? What did they take him for? They were robbing him? This was a humiliation. Mo Yi of the Demon Eye clan of the ruined prison had never suffered such humiliation. These two must die. You guys, shut up. Mo Yi thundered. The sky-high nether energy on his body diffused. He couldn't stand it anymore. He hated that he couldn't slap those two to death. However, just as he roared, a voice suddenly rang out. The man and the dog weren't scared. They turned to look at him. You shut up. Mo Yi was bewildered. When he got a hold of himself, his lungs were about to explode. This kind of humiliation made him crazy. You guys, as he was about to lose his mind, he felt something slip from his hand. The mantis shrimp he had grabbed suddenly turned into a jet of gold light, shooting away with a sizzle. It moved so fast, as if it had turned into a gold thread, dashing away. Bufang only saw a blur in front of his eyes, and Shrimpy came running back to him. It lay on his shoulder and spat out bubbles from its mouth. Bufang raised his hand, rubbing Xiaopi. Xiaopi's speed was getting faster and faster. It seemed this little fellow wasn't simple at all. Run? Anyway, you have to die. Mo Yi coldly looked at Xiaopi, who was running away. His face was so cold. All right, it's a deal. We'll take turns to beat it until it cries. Hades' era held a spicy strip in his mouth, squinting at Lord Go as he bargained. Eventually, he seemed to have settled on a plan. His face beamed with excitement. Bufong expressionlessly looked at Little Huss, then at Lord Go. If he wasn't wrong, Little Huss would beat that coquettish bitch until it cries. Then, Lord Go would beat that coquettish bitch until it cries. Bufong seemed to be at a disadvantage, as he had to provide 2 dishes. Lord Go's sweet and sour dragon ribs and Hades' era's spicy strip. He seemed to have been tricked by these 2 fellows. Bufong was bewildered. He immediately understood the key point. He looked at the 2 fellows, speechless. Lord Go's mouth twitched, then he strode out like a cat. This time, let this Lord Go do it first. I'll help this little girl vent her anger. Lord Go twisted his monkey butt, then strode out like a cat, soaring into the sky. Hua's body was covered in blood, but his eyes were bright as he gazed at Lord Go in the sky. Hades' era, who had negotiated with Lord Go, wasn't in a hurry. He continued to hold a spicy strip in his mouth, rubbing his hands with anticipation. Chu Changsheng, who was lying on the ground, looked at Lord Go, who was walking like a cat, and smiled. That Mo Yi was dead. Xiaobai picked up the war god stick. The ferocious look on his body faded away, and he returned to his normal chubby Xiao by appearance. He returned to Bufong, standing behind Bufong. Mo Yi squinted, looking at Lord Go. The 2 vertical eyes on his forehead emitted a mysterious radiance. Nether energy continuously gathered on his body. You're just a dog, and you dare to act tough in front of me? Mo Yi raised his hands, and nether energy quickly gathered on them. Your dog is really fat. I'm afraid it'll taste good, said Mo Yi. A moment later, he moved. His figure suddenly disappeared in the air with a whoosh. Not a single sound was heard. As if he had teleported, he appeared in front of Lord Go, bringing with him a pressure that stirred up a gust of wind. This gust of wind blew on Lord Go's body, making the fat on Lord Go's body sway. His 2 palms aimed at Lord Go's head. His aura made everybody take in a breath of cold air. The dark clouds in the sky rolled behind Mo Yi's back. It was extremely terrifying. It made Mo Yi look like a peerless devil. Many people in a gluttony square were shivering. Mo Yi was really terrifying. However, boom, an exquisite dog paw rose. A moment later, it gently patted down. Mo Yi's eyes shrank. The nether energy in his hand shattered into pieces under this paw. Mo Yi was so frightened that he felt as if his pores were about to explode. The 2 vertical eyes on his forehead trembled. His body flashed, trying to dodge. In less than a breath's time, Mo Yi had already moved several miles away. However, a loud thud resounded. The exquisite dog paw still smashed onto his head. OF*CK. Mo Yi cocked his head. He was a little dumbstruck, as if he didn't know why he got hit by the paw. Boom! Mo Yi's body was like a cannonball, smashing into the ground. Boom! Chu Changsheng lay on the ground. He tilted his head and saw Mo Yi's body fall not far from him. The ground cracked, gravel flew in all directions, and a strong gale surged. With a thud, a rock hit Chu Changsheng's face. Chu Changsheng felt a little embarrassed. The ruins exploded. Mo Yi's body turned into a jet of black light, shooting up into the sky. His face was filled with rage. He had never thought that a black dog would smash him to the ground. The vertical eye, which had circles of energy around it, emitted a resplendent light as it stared at Lord Dog. It was as though it wanted to see through Lord Dog. However, just as he was gazing, he saw the black dog, whose fat was shaking, raise its paw. Boom! A dull thud echoed. The dog's paw hit his head one more time. Mo Yi spurted out a mouthful of pitch-black blood. He fell from the sky like a cannonball. Chu Changsheng, who was lying on the ground, had just pulled off the rock that had hit his face when another rock whistled over, hitting his face. Chu Changsheng didn't want to live anymore. He pulled off the rock and turned around. You can't even let me rest in peace? Boom! The ruins exploded one more time. Mo Yi's body stormed out of the rubble. However, before he could steady himself, another dog paw slapped him. Moe was so annoyed that he wanted to vomit blood. Shameless. Can't you give me a break? Boom. Rocks scattered everywhere. A big rock whizzed over, hitting Chu Chongqing's butt, who was lying on the ground. Chu Chongqing's eyebrows twitched. This time, Moe didn't soar into the sky. Instead, he slowly crawled out of the rubble. Blood dripped from his mouth. He was a little annoyed. He couldn't see through that black dog, but the aura it gave him wasn't that terrifying. Was it just a hallucination? He spat out a mouthful of dirty blood. Moe's vertical eye shot out a dazzling radiance, his face ferocious. You fat dog, go die. Buzz, instantly, energy gathered in the vertical eye, twisting the void. The two vertical eyes on the forehead were the strongest attack of the Demon Eye clan. Its attack power was peerless. A white light beam shot out, aiming at the Lord Go. Moe sneered. His eyes stared at the sky. He wanted to see the scene of that fat dog being blown into pieces by the light beams. No one could resist that light beam. However, shortly after, his face froze. That's because he saw the fat dog wobbling as it raised its paw. The dog's paw lightly tapped on the beam of light, and the beam of light shot out from the demon. I was scattered. It was smashed, turning into dots of gentle energy, dispersing King gentle. Why was the demon eye's light beam, which had never failed before, blocked by a dog? He must have set up a fake demon eye's light beam. Lord Go's dog eyes indifferently looked at Moe, who was standing at the entrance of the rubble with a dumbstruck face. His magnetic voice arose one more time. Ew, did you cry? Moe's face stiffened. Cry? Cry your sister. He was a boom. Moe's brain hadn't finished working yet. A moment later, his body was smashed into the ground by a giant dog paw made of energy. The ground shook violently, and a deep depression appeared. Chu Chongqing, who was lying on the ground, crawled up and ran away. He was afraid that the fat dog would slap him to death before he could fight to his death. Did you cry? Asked Lord Go one more time. The smoke and dust scattered. Moe crawled out of the rubble one more time. He was covered in blood, and his body was shivering. He lifted his head, his vertical eyes opened as wide as they could. Gazing at Lord Go, he seemed to remember something. His face was filled with fear and dread. A black dog, a terrifyingly black dog, and Moe shivered. He pointed at Lord Go, shivering. This dog reminded him of a terrifying existence. You're that dog from Earth Prison. Chapter 834. You're that dog from the Earth Prison. Moe was frightened, looking at Lord Go. After getting hit by the dog's paw, he finally pulled himself together. Although he was from the Demon Eye clan of the Ruined Prison, he knew many things about the Earth Prison. Among the 3 prisons of the Netherworld, the Nether Prison was the most mysterious one. However, not many people knew about it. The Earth Prison was different. It was much stronger than the Ruined Prison, and there were countless terrifying existences there. In Moe's memory, if he wasn't wrong, this dog should be a formidable force in the Earth Prison. How could such an existence appear in the Hidden Dragon Continent? Why would it appear in a restaurant in the food city of the Hidden Dragon Continent? Wasn't this King joke? At this moment, Moe's heart shivered. He suddenly wanted to cry. He thought that he would have a tragic ending soon. He didn't say anything more. Nether aura burst forth from Moe's body as he stomped on the ground. His figure shot out like a bolt of lightning as he fled into the distance. He didn't want to die. Facing that dog, he could only run. He didn't stand a chance if he tried to resist. Lord Go seemed to have predicted that Moe would run away. He didn't mind. He just raised his paw, elegantly walking like a cat. A moment later, his figure disappeared, reappearing in front of Moe. Moe's 4 eyes widened. A wave of cold air expanded from his feet, covering his entire body. Damn it! Moe cursed under his breath. His body halted immediately. However, What greeted him was a giant dog paw made of black energy that could cover the sky. That dog paw had black energy moving. Mo was very familiar with that kind of energy. It was the aura from the Earth prison. This kind of aura made him even more certain of the black dog's origins. Boom! A loud thud echoed. Mo's body was smashed into the ground by Lord Go from the sky. The ground caved in, showing the shape of a dog's paw. At the edges, fine cracks spread out in all directions. From a distance, Hades' era held a spicy strip in his mouth, looking playfully at the scene. That little guy seems to have recognized that mangy dog. Look at how scared he is. Hades' era walked in and out with a spicy strip in his hand. He couldn't help but shake his head. Did he recognize the identity of Lord Go? Bufong's eyes lit up. He was really curious about the lazy dog's identity. Not long after he opened his business in the Light Wind Empire, this lazy dog had come to visit him until now. Bufong wouldn't believe it if he said that he wasn't curious. The Lord Go was very powerful and mysterious. This was a dog with a lot of stories. Rubbing his chin, Bufong felt that he could find a chance to dig into the Lord Go's history, either from Hades or from the Lord Go. Anyway, he had spicy strips and sweet and sour ribs, so he was not afraid that those two would not tell him. But we agreed to beat him until he cries. Why hasn't he cried yet? This mangy dog is a weak chicken, said Hades. Flowery raised her head, and her big eyes twinkled. Her triflower snake eyes spun, and there seemed to be a mysterious energy circulating within them. Flowery grinned and looked at Lord Dog excitedly. Her small fists were clenched tightly, and she waved them around from time to time. Bufong retracted his gaze from Hua. This little girl wasn't someone who knew her place. The tyrannical genes in her bones weren't ordinary. Even though she was beaten until she cried, she still knew to hug the Lord Go's thigh to get back at him. Kids nowadays shouldn't be provoked. In the ruins, Mo staggered to get up. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his face ashen. Without saying anything, he turned around and continued to run. However, thinking about that black dog's identity, Mo felt his legs go soft. He hated it. That black dog had nothing to do after eating its fill. Why didn't it go anywhere else? Why did it run to this broken restaurant in the Hidden Dragon continent? How could this place be worthy of the Lord Go's identity? Swish, Mo pressed both of his hands on the ground, stopping his body. His mouth twitched as he looked at the fat, trembling black dog in the distance. The Lord Go cocked his head, indifferently looking at Mo. His magnetic voice echoed in the void. Tell me, did you cry? Cry your sister. Mo was so aggrieved that he almost vomited blood. Don't think that you, a black dog, can bully people just because you're strong. You'll be struck by lightning. Mo was resentful. The nether energy on his body shot out one more time as he turned around to run away. Boom! Indeed, before he could take 2 steps, the Lord Go had pounded Mo into the ground one more time. Boom! 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 No one knew how many times Mo had pounded him, but the ground shook and cracked unceasingly. The onlookers were numb. Everybody in the Gluttony Square wore a dull face, their eyes blank. The invincible, arrogant demon was beaten to the point that he didn't even have the guts to retaliate. Were they hallucinating? How could such a terrible thing happen? Bufong and Hades' era sat cross-legged, looking at Mo with boredom. That fellow's really tough. He didn't cry when the Lord Go pounded him like that. Can't he just cry for a while? He's really naughty. Hades bitterly bit his spicy strip. Every time the Lord Go swung his paw, Hades' era's heart tightened. He was afraid that the Lord Go wouldn't control his power well and would slap that little fellow to death. If he was slapped to death, he wouldn't have a chance to ask Bufong for his spicy strip. That would be a big loss. Why don't you cry? Hades was enraged. At this moment, Mo really wanted to cry. Mo had never been in such a difficult situation. A dog had toyed with him. Even if that dog wasn't an ordinary dog, it was still a *king dog. Cough. Cough. Mo coughed, puffing dust from his mouth. Mo crawled out of the rubble one more time. He didn't run anymore. Turning around, he looked at the Lord Go hovering in the sky. Looking at the black dog with its fat jiggling, his eyes seemed to be filled with rage. Was the black vertical eye opened. Tens of thousands of energy gathered. Mo's aura surged, becoming extremely terrifying. In front of the vertical eye, a black ball of energy gathered. The energy was so violent that it seemed to tear the void. I'm not running anymore. I'm going to risk my life to kill you. Mo was enraged. He wiped the black blood from the corner of his mouth, shouting furiously. The energy in his entire body was gathering. He wanted to risk his life for one last attack. Since he couldn't run away, even if he had to die, he would die a heroic death. To be able to fight against a legendary giant existence in the Earth prison, Mo's death was enough. Come on, you black dog from the Earth prison. Let me see your... Boom! Energy gathered rapidly. Strand after strand of energy condensed. It seemed as though the void was about to be torn apart. At this moment, Mo's aura seemed to boil up. However, when his energy reached the highest point, when Mo's aura was at its highest, a dog's paw fell from the sky. He was pounded into the ground one more time. The energy he had gathered was shattered under the dog's paw. Puff! He spurted a mouthful of black blood. Mo didn't want to live anymore. He lay on the ground, not wanting to move. Why didn't he just die like that? How could they torture people like that? However, Mo didn't die. He moved. Crushed stones rolled, and he crawled out of the rubble. Mo looked at the indifferent Lord Go, whose fat was shivering. An indescribable sorrow rose in his heart, making his nose sour. The Lord Go looked at him. His magnetic voice echoed. Are you crying? Brother dog, you won. Can you give me a quick death? A scholar can be killed, but not humiliated. Mo's nose was sour, and his eyes were red. He held back his tears, not letting them fall. He glared at the Lord Go. Seems it's not enough. Then one more paw. The Lord Go curled his lips. A moment later, he raised his exquisite dog paw. In the void, energy gathered, turning into a giant dog paw. The dog paw hovered above Mo's head. The rumbling energy moved, making Mo feel like he didn't want to live anymore. Thud! Mo kneeled on the ground, facing the Lord Go. A moment later, he covered his face and cried. Bean-sized teardrops squeezed out of his eyes. To survive, he was so wrong that he cried. Mo felt extremely aggrieved. He had no choice. If he wanted to live, he could only cry. However, Mo secretly swore that he would take revenge for this humiliation. The river flows east for 30 years, and then west for 30 years. His heart was filled with so much grief. Mo just wanted to pretend to cry. However, as soon as he cried, all of his grievances burst out. Being abused by a dog like a toy, Mo's body and mind were seriously damaged. Thus, he couldn't stop crying. Her cries were heart-wrenching and extremely tragic. The Lord Go was a little embarrassed. He looked at Mo. His dog nose twitched. Not far from him, Hua saw Mo crying. She excitedly swung her fists. This fellow had bullied her and made her cry. Now, she would let him taste the feeling of being beaten until he cried. Lolita's revenge. 10 years was not too late. It wasn't that she didn't want to take revenge, but it wasn't the right time yet. Everyone looked at each other with a strange expression. They did not know what to say. Such a powerful demon was now kneeling on the ground, crying bitterly. His image seemed to have collapsed. Mo's snot and tears rolled down his face. He felt like he was suffocating. Bufong wore an odd face. He didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Hades, who was sitting next to Bufong, jolted up from the ground. His eyes sparkled. His hair fluttered, and half of his bangs hung down, covering half of his face. His palm covered half of his face. He held a spicy strip in his mouth, his eyes gloomy. Finally, it's time for I to take action. Bufong, young man, remember the spicy strip you promised me. I also want to beat him until he cries. Mo cried. Finally, he submitted to the Lord Go's dog paw. The Lord Go wasn't interested. He twitched his mouth and glanced at Mo, who was kneeling and crying on the ground. Swaying his dog tail, he strode back with his cat-like steps. After a few steps, he returned to Hua. I beat him until he cries. Are you satisfied now? The Lord Go looked at Hua, speaking casually. Hua was so excited. His tri-flower snake eyes moved as he grinned. Mo, you didn't expect that terrifying dog to leave just like that. Did he spare his life? Wiping the tears on his face, Mo Yi suddenly had a gleam of hope. If he didn't die, he should run. Mo Yi's body shot up from the ground. Thick nether energy moved around his body. Boom. It seemed like he was about to break the void. Mo Yi wanted to run away. However, just as his figure soared into the sky and flew a few meters, he was intercepted by a figure. It was a figure so handsome that even women would be jealous of him. His shiny black hair cascaded down his face. His handsome face was melancholic, and he held a spicy strip in his mouth, which made him look more experienced. Mo Yi's eyes focused. A moment later, his flame of rage exploded. Someone had stopped him. Don't provoke me. Get lost. He was really angry at this moment. He just wanted to run away. The fear that Black Dog had brought him made him a little confused. He thought that he had to run away and tell the High Priestess this news. The giant existence of the Earth prison in the Hidden Dragon continent. Once this news was sent back, it would definitely cause a great earthquake. Hades covered his face with one hand. He tilted his body and lifted his head. With a spicy strip in his mouth, he squinted at Mo Yi. His mouth moved, mumbling, "Who did you say should get lost? That mangy dog beat you until you cried." Now its eyes turned. Mo Yi was bewildered. A moment later, Hades' era raised his hand, pointing at Mo Yi. His mouth moved, and the spicy strip moved to the other side of his mouth. Are you going to cry again? Chapter 835. Are you ready to be beaten until you cry? Nether King Air Ha's words carried a hint of laziness. His shiny black hair fluttered in the wind, and a devilish smile hung on his devilish face. Together with the spicy strip at the corner of his mouth, he looked even more experienced. However, his words made Mo Yi dumbstruck and speechless. It's that F*** king thing again. Does everybody want to beat him until he cries? It was okay if it was that dog. No matter what, that dog had a terrifying background. But where did this man get the guts to say such words? Did he think that Mo Yi was easy to bully? No matter what, he was an expert of the Demon Eye clan in the Ruin Prison. The Demon Eye clan was a big clan in the Ruin Prison with countless experts. Except for that dog, who is Mo Yi afraid of? Get lost. Anyone who stops me will die. Mo Yi was enraged. The vertical eye on his forehead opened. Thick energy gathered in front of that vertical eye. Shortly after, it became a black energy ball. His aura was rocketing. He was enraged. The flame of anger in his body burned fiercely, as if it wanted to burst out of his chest. He was afraid of the Lord Go. That was why he wanted to run away. He had planned to destroy the entire gourmet city, killing all the creatures there. He wanted to destroy the Heavenly Star Catcher Disc as well. However, that dog's appearance had messed up his plan. He had never thought that he would do that. He was beaten by a dog until he cried. It was shameful. No, actually, it wasn't shameful to be beaten by that dog. However, it was shameful to be beaten until he cried in front of so many people. Thus, Mo Yi was enraged. At this time, there was actually someone who dared to block his path recklessly. This person was really courting death. The energy in his vertical eye became thicker. He hadn't used the move he had used against the Lord Go. This time, he wanted to use it all. He wanted to let everybody know that he, Mo Yi, wasn't weak. He was just weak in front of that dog. Boom, boom, boom. Tens of thousands of clouds rolled and gathered above Mo Yi's head. They became darker and darker. A moment later, Mo Yi opened his mouth and roared. His roar reached the 9 heavens. Boom! A dull thud echoed. The howling stopped abruptly. Mo Yi was petrified at his spot. A chill rose from his body. That was because the youth not far away from him had disappeared. Before he could even catch a glimpse of him, the youth had already appeared in front of him. He raised a finger and pointed at the black energy ball between his eyebrows. Youngsters nowadays are so domineering. How dare they yell at I? How naughty. Hades' face was calm as he pointed his finger at an energy ball in front of Moe. The energy ball was about to blast out, but at this moment, it was unable to do so no matter how hard it tried. It was forcefully suppressed and unable to erupt. That kind of grievance made Moe want to cry. It was like a piece of shit that had been brewing for a long time, the feeling of wanting to take a dump, but not being able to. Moe's face was a little distorted. Suddenly, a chill rose from his body. This guy suppressed his demon eye attack with just a finger? This seemed a little scary. Seems like you're not ready to be beaten until you cry. Too bad. I won't give you more time to prepare. Cry all you want. It's not a crime. Hades said. A moment later, a wisp of nether energy twirled around his finger. Seeing that wisp of nether energy, Moe's eyes shrank. From that wisp of nether energy, he could feel a familiar aura. That aura was the same as the black dog's aura from before. Same. What the F***? That fellow in front of him was also from Earth Prison? What the heck? Boom. Nether energy shot out. Terrifying energy waves burst out. The energy Moe had been brewing for a long time exploded in front of his head. Like a cannonball, he was blasted down from the sky and smashed on the ground. Dust rose from the ground. Black energy rolled and rolled in the sky. Hades' era held a spicy strip in his mouth. When he moved his mouth, the spicy strip twitched. Young man who dares to shout at I. Harumph. Hades' era stroked his long hair. His hair fluttered, revealing his handsome face. His body slowly floated down from the sky, landing on the ground. In the ruins, crushed stones rolled and rattled. A figure covered in black blood crawled out of the ruins. Moe gasped for air. He seemed to be hurt badly. His body was broken and full of wounds. The energy he had been accumulating for a long time exploded in just a blink of an eye, almost blowing him up. He didn't die. He was really lucky. The vertical eye on his forehead moved. A moment later, it opened. It was such a close explosion, but the two vertical eyes weren't hurt at all. He was really lucky. The Demon Eye clan paid a lot of attention to the protection of their vertical eyes. It was their pride, and it was their main attack. Who are you after all? I am Moe. What grudge do I have against you? Moe lifted his head, his face resentful. He gritted his teeth, asking coldly. Hades' era clasped his hands. His eyes squinted. His mouth moved, and the spicy strip shrank a little. No grudge. I took your spicy strip to help you eliminate disasters. Hades said. Moe was so upset that he almost vomited blood. What the hell was a spicy strip? Moe couldn't even compare to a spicy strip. He was so enraged. You're also a member of the Netherworld. Why do you want to kill each other? After the heaven past tribulation, the Netherworld will completely occupy the hidden dragon continent. At that time, you and I are on the same side. Why don't we talk nicely? The heaven past tribulation had begun. This time, the ruined prison was confident that they could break the hidden dragon heaven pass. At that time, the experts of the ruined prison would invade and occupy the hidden dragon continent. At that time, the Demon Eye clan would send their experts here. At that time, it wouldn't be too late to clean up this food city. However, before that, he had to find a chance to destroy the Heavenly Star Catcher Disc. Moe seemed to think about the Heavenly Star Catcher Disc. His eyes sparkled, and he exhaled. His eyes moved past Hades' era, falling not far from him. There, the Heavenly Secret Saintess was sitting cross-legged on the ground, her face ashen. Above her head, a massive star compass was hovering, shooting beams of light. It was the Heavenly Star Catcher Disc, the item he wanted to find a chance to destroy. Moe's mind wandered. When he came back to his senses, he discovered that the person had already appeared beside him. Hades' era looked at Moe indifferently. With the spicy strip in his mouth, he said, "Don't talk. Cry. Cry, your sister." I've been beaten until I cried once, and you still want me to cry? What's wrong with this world? Mo's eyes shrank. He was enraged one more time. You boom. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something. However, before he could finish his words, a slap had interrupted him. That slap landed on Mo's head, making him stagger backward several steps. Dumbfounded, his face was bewildered. Mo pulled himself together. He was so enraged that he was almost crazy. Flames of rage shot out from his four eyes. You dare to hit me? Mo was enraged, looking at Hades' era. Hades' mouth moved, and the spicy strip in his hand changed position. He glanced at Mo. What did this fellow mean? The mangy dog could hit him, but Hades, couldn't? Why did he have to look down on the mangy dog and Hades? Boom! Disregarding the consequences, Hades slapped him one more time. This slap landed on Mo's head. It wasn't heavy, but made Mo stagger several steps back. Mo was shaking. He raised his hand, pointing at Hades' era. Bam! His hand, which he had just raised, was slapped swollen. Mo was enraged. Nether King Airha slowly walked forward, his body carrying a terrifying stagnant aura. That aura burst out, forcing Mo to retreat continuously. While retreating, Mo wanted to say something. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by a slap on his head. He was so aggrieved. Why did he feel like a little kid being bullied by a little kid? Are you going to cry or not? Hades slapped him. Mo's head was about to swell. He took several steps back, landing on his butt. Arg, I'll risk my life with you. You're King bullying me. Mo was so enraged that his chest was about to explode. His vertical eyes opened as wide as they could. Instantly, he leaped up. His fists were twirled with nether energy as he attacked Hades' era. Hades didn't mind at all. Originally, he was afraid of the Great Path's principle. After all, he had been struck by lightning several times. However, Mo's group had entered the Hidden Dragon realm, using the Great Path principle. Thus, Hades could casually use his cultivation base, and he wouldn't be struck by lightning. Hades could use his cultivation base as he pleased. Why would he be afraid of Mo? His hand slapped, and Mo's fists were slapped away. His hand shook, and with a thud, he hit Mo's head again. Mo was in so much pain that he staggered backward, clutching his head. He was so enraged that tears rolled down his cheeks. Turning around, he took big steps and began to run. Even if he couldn't beat him, couldn't he run away? However, how could he outrun Hades' era? He was caught shortly, and his head was slapped. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. Everyone stared blankly at this scene, their mouths twitching uncontrollably. It was supposed to be a serious battle, but why did it become so funny? Everybody felt sorry for Mo for a second. Boom! With a loud thud, Hades' era pressed Mo to the ground one more time. Why aren't you crying? Did I hit you too hard? Hades yelled while hitting him. Not far from him, Bufong rolled his eyes. Lord Go couldn't help but snort, shaking his head. That moron. Mo was so enraged. He could be killed, but he couldn't be humiliated. Boom! A tremendous aura shot out from his body. A moment later, Hades' era wasn't paying attention, and he was blown away by the wave of air. His body turned around, falling far from him. Mo's face was ferocious. His skin had turned blue, and two mysterious, ferocious lines were moving on it. Those demon lines looked like they were about to burn. Mo's aura was rising fast. Even if I have to die today, I will drag you, damn you, down with me. Mo was enraged. He burned his demon lines, bursting with more power. Because of Hades' era's oppression, he had to resist. Wherever there was oppression, there would be resistance. Hades frowned. Holding a spicy strip in his mouth, he exhaled gently. It's like this, and you still won't cry, boom. The demon lines burned to the extreme, bursting with a black flame. The flame was so hot that it covered Mo's entire body, turning him into a flaming man. Hades' era looked at him indifferently. He stretched out his hand and stuffed the chili strip in his mouth into his mouth, then slowly chewed. Gulp. He swallowed the spicy strip. Then, the Nether King raised his head, and his eyes suddenly turned pitch black. Behind him, a huge, pitch-black shadow appeared. The shadow was 10 zhang tall, and nether energy filled the air. A moment later, the shadow opened its eyes. It seemed to tear apart a part of the world. Mo Yi, who had turned into a flaming man, shivered. The flames on his body dimmed a little. This shadow, this pressure, could it be? Chapter 836. The terrifying virtual image was about to cover the sky and cover the sun. The Nether King's face was indifferent, becoming cold and arrogant. The coldness in his eyes made everyone who looked at him feel a chill in their hearts. It was Hades' Era, who wasn't the usual clown. At this moment, Era made Bu Fong feel like the lord of the netherworld. The Lord Go slightly lifted his dog head, looking at Hades' Era. He couldn't help but twitch his mouth. That fellow started to act like a tyrant again. If the Great Path's principle of the Hidden Dragon Continent still existed, would he dare to act so arrogantly? The lightning punishment would kill him. Different from the others, Mo Yi was the one who was scared the most. The terrifying aura from that phantom made him feel like he had returned to the netherworld. Facing the peerless existence of the netherworld, that feeling was simply too terrifying. This phantom, this aura, this feeling, it made him think of a terrifying existence. There were many powerful existences in the Earth Prison, but only a few of them were really famous. That black dog was one of them. This fellow in front of him reminded Mo Yi of another terrifying existence. That was the real high level of the netherworld. No matter if it was in the ruined prison, Earth Prison, or even Nether Prison, they were the overlords who could shake an entire region. The Tinjiang Tall Phantom made Mo Yi, who had ignited his demon marks and wanted to go berserk, completely dumbstruck. Nether, Lord of the Netherworld. He lifted his head, looking at the massive phantom of the Demogorgon. That phantom pressed down on him, making his entire body shiver. The burning flame on his body dimmed a lot. At this moment, he only had one word in his mind that he wanted to say. That dog in the Earth Prison and the noble lord of the netherworld in front of him. Did Mo Yi step on dog sh*t when he went out? Oh, cat sh*t. Nowadays, anything related to dogs was a taboo. Mo Yi's mouth trembled. Under Hades' Era's gaze, his mind shivered, as if he was about to collapse. In fact, he had already collapsed. Thud! Mo Yi knelt down again in front of Hades' Era. Bean-sized teardrops rolled down from her eyes. He was sad and depressed. This time, he was crying from the bottom of his heart. He really wanted to cry. Thinking back to his previous experience, he felt that he had experienced the most inhumane devastation. Ravaged by a black dog, ravaged by a clown. Mo Yi, whose entire body was burning with black flames, was crying loudly. Tears were squeezed out of her eyes and dripped down for the corners of her eyes. It sounded like a bead curtain with a broken thread, making it hard for him to breathe. Hades' Era indifferently looked at Mo Yi, who was kneeling on the ground and crying. He tilted his head, then gently exhaled. The aura on his body slowly dispersed. When the phantom disappeared, the terrifying aura that made Mo Yi unable to move also disappeared. Hades scratched his head, then his hair. He had always wanted this young man to cry. Now that he was crying, Hades suddenly felt a little embarrassed to continue beating him. His heart was still too soft. Of course, Mo Yi felt the pressure on his body disappear. He couldn't help but lift his head. His face, which was covered by the black flames, revealed a gleam of joy. He stood up, slowly approaching Hades' Era. Sir, are you the Sir from the Netherworld? Are you the Supreme Lord of the Netherworld? Mo Yi wore a fanatical face as he looked at Hades' Era, approaching him step by step. His voice was trembling, filled with respect. Listening to him, Hades' Era enjoyed it a lot. Yes, it's him. It's him, the supreme existence in the Netherworld. He's the Lord of the Netherworld. Era. Young man, you're not bad. You can recognize TSK, TSK, TSK. You have a bright future. The corners of Hades' Era's mouth rose. He brushed his hair, which fluttered. I have eyes, but I didn't recognize you. I hope you can. Hades' Era squinted. Moya's words really worked on him. All of a sudden, Hades' Era furrowed his brows. Moye, who was approaching him, suddenly moved. In just a blink of an eye, he zoomed out, leaving a shadow in the void. In just a blink of an eye, he tore the void. Tens of thousands of black flames surged. Moye halted, appearing above the heavenly star catcher disk above the heavenly secret Sainus' head. The sudden turn of events caused everyone to be slightly taken aback. A moment later, everybody took in a breath of cold air. Hades' Era pulled himself together, looking at Moye, who had disappeared in front of him and reappeared on the heavenly star catcher disk. He was enraged. He found that he had been tricked. This coquettish bitch was actually using sweet words to numb him. His real goal was to attack the heavenly star catcher disk. Could it be that everything this fellow said before was just to fool this king? Unforgivable. Moya's eyes sparkled crazily. That's right. His real target was the heavenly star catcher disk hovering above the heavenly secret Sainus' head. As long as he could destroy the heavenly star catcher disk, his mission would be completed. Even if he was beaten to tears by a man and a dog twice, destroying the heavenly star catcher disk wouldn't be a loss. Moreover, he had burned all the demon marks on his body. Once the demon marks were burned, it was the same as burning his vitality. Although he could gain a lot of power, his lifespan would be shortened, which would hasten his death. Back then, Granny Mo had ignited the divine fire on the divine altar. It was the same principle. Igniting his demon marks was the same as the divine flame being ignited. Everybody was bewildered. They didn't expect that after Moye cried and begged for mercy, his target was the heavenly secret Saintus, who was wounded badly. Did he want to kill them all? Heavenly star, catch your disc. Break for me. Moye urged all the energy in his body. A terrifying flame swept over, shooting up into the sky. His body became hazy. He punched out, and a monstrous flame burst forth. His glabella, which was covered in flames, split, and the two vertical eyes merged, turning into a vertical eye. That vertical eye released a terrifying energy fluctuation. The flame and the energy fluctuation blended, and the power it released reached a level that could shatter the void. The heavenly secret Sainus had never thought that Moye would do that. At this moment, her heart tightened. The heavenly secret Saintus lifted her head. Her hair fluttered under the terrifying flame and pressure. Her blood-stained veil also scattered and fluttered in the wind. In just a moment, everybody's eyes were fixed on her. Without the veil, the heavenly secret Saintus face was revealed. It was a peerlessly beautiful face that made people gawk and drop their jaws. That face could make people intoxicated. She was pitiful and moving. Her nose was high, and her skin was white as if she was carved from jade. Her eyes were as bright as stars, and her red lips were soft and tender. Her facial features were perfect, like a perfect painting. People couldn't help but be deeply attracted to her. Beautiful, too beautiful, no? The heavenly secret Sainus' eyes shrank, her face frightened. She had never thought that Moye's target was her heavenly star catcher disc. To protect the heavenly star catcher disc, Granny Mo had sent her here. If the heavenly star catcher disc was destroyed, wouldn't Granny Mo's efforts be in vain? The heavenly secret Saintus wanted to stop him, but she didn't have the strength to do so. Her cultivation base was too weak. No, it wasn't that her cultivation base was weak. The enemy's cultivation base was too strong. Bufong was bewildered. He looked at the heavenly secret Saintus' shattered veil. At the moment her face was exposed, Bufong was a little surprised. He recognized that the heavenly secret Saintus was someone he knew. That peerlessly beautiful face appeared clearly in his memory. It was her. The corners of Bufong's mouth twitched. He couldn't help but mutter. The heavenly secret saintess was the seventh elder of the celestial arcanum sect in the Light Wind Empire, the beautiful woman who loved to eat. Her name was Yin. Today, Yin's aura had changed greatly. Her cultivation base had also changed, and her face had become otherworldly and refined. However, her eyes didn't change much. It was another acquaintance. Boom! The heavenly star catcher disc felt the danger. It spun furiously. That terrifying spinning energy made people take in a breath of cold air. Circles of terrifying energy ripples spread out in all directions, rumbling in the world. Buzz, buzz, everybody was bewildered. In their eyes, there was only so much star energy moving. The radiance of the stars shone down, causing everyone's eyes to become misty. However, Emoye's eyes were still crazy. He didn't hold back his energy, pouring it on the heavenly star catcher disc. The pale blue heavenly star catcher disc spun rapidly. However, a moment later, it froze. It was stuck. Everybody's eyes shrank to the size of a mung bean. They found so many fine cracks on the heavenly star catcher disc. Boom! A loud explosion echoed. The heavenly star catcher disc shattered instantly. Swoosh! And Yin, who was connected to the heavenly star catcher disc, spurted a mouthful of blood. Her body was like a withered flower, her eyes lifeless as she fell to the ground. Her blood floated in the air, turning into a blood mist that slowly dispersed. The heavenly star catcher disc shattered. At this moment, Hades' Era and Lord Go were bewildered. Hades' Era lifted his head, looking at the void. Lord Go's dog nose twitched. The corners of his mouth rose as he looked at the void. Boom! Rumble! Boom! In the sky, dark clouds gathered rapidly. Inside the dark clouds, lightning was moving like a dragon. All of a sudden, an invisible hand soared into the sky. It forcefully patted and scattered the dark clouds. The lightning dragon was pulled out and crushed. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, everyone came back to their senses. The beautiful heavenly secret saintess had fallen the moment the heavenly star catcher disc was broken. Many people were so skeptical. In the restaurant, Yoji was covered in blood. He staggered, looking at the scene. He clenched his fists, pounding them on the ground. His face was filled with resentment and unwillingness. In the end, the heavenly star catcher disc was destroyed. Countless beams of starlight fell, sprinkling on the heavenly secret saintess who was lying on the ground. In the gluttony square, everybody sighed regretfully. Hades' Era gritted his teeth, breaking his spicy strip. He frowned. The heavenly star catcher disc destruction was his fault. If he hadn't been careless, how could Yi have destroyed it? Therefore, the Nether King was a little angry, because that Yi actually used respect for him to numb him. His body disappeared in just a blink of an eye, reappearing on Yi's body in the void. Yi was laughing crazily. The demon flame on his body burned as he laughed crazily. His laughter seemed to be bursting out all of the grievances he had previously held. The heavenly star catcher disc was finally destroyed. Boom! Boom! A moment later, the demon eye on Yi's forehead exploded. His entire body was cut in half. A space crack appeared, and a ferocious, massive hand reached out of it. Slowly, a terrifying aura diffused. A figure crawled out of the crack on Yi's forehead. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.